good arc. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. It was good. Hello, welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. I'm your host, Craftsdwarf. This is my co-host, Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
I only cried twice reading this.
Same.
Which, honestly, there were probably a lot of moments that could really be like, ugh, gut punches.
There were more gut punches than there was crying. Yeah, like, oh boy. But before we get on to that, I have an announcement. We finished the first patron poll ended a few days ago, and the winner was Soul Eater. So after so this is our second to last Hunter x Hunter episode. Next, we're doing the 13th chairman election. Then after that will be Soul Eater, which I think will be 4 episodes by my estimates, and then we'll do Boruto, and partway through Soul Eater we will do the poll for the old school series. So in which you guys decide the order we're reading our 2 series that we've already picked. So look forward to that, and again, if you are a patron and plan on being a patron through like basically the rest of the year, because Soul Eater is going to be 4 episodes. I forget how many episodes the old school one will be, and I don't want to say because I don't want to reveal the picks yet. Boruto is just going to be 1 episode. So we're after finishing Hunter x Hunter, we're only going to be like 5 episodes, so 2.5 months away from our next full block, basically. So yeah. Anyway, comments. You have comments this time, right, Mathwiz?
Yeah, I'm prepared this time. It's Chimera and I gotta be prepared. So there was one from Umor about the Leol versus Morel fight.
Yes.
It talks about obviously like Morel's ability, Deep Purple, and the whole fight being a smoke on the water reference, which is good. I never picked up on that because I'm uncultured. Yeah. But yeah, they also mentioned a Medi Not the Bad Guy video on Morel, and it was an interesting video. I checked it out, and it was pretty good.
Nice. Okay, so Mr. S has been desperate for an answer to a question that about if the kite problem would have been fixed with replacing kite in a Hunter exam like with Sataz, which
yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's a great move because the first exam starts off and it's like, okay, the first exam, we go through the first exam, they gotta run and stuff. Now Kite's there, and now we have this whole other thing to deal with. Like, is Gon just gonna ignore it until like he can talk to him? Is it just gonna be like suddenly we get this info dump like right at the start of the exam when the exam should be starting? I don't think that's a great move. And then because that information isn't important for literally like 3-4 arcs, so definitely seems like an awkward place. So
yeah, I know from this. I thought it sounded kind of weird, and the reason why I've been putting off responding to it, I didn't find it particularly interesting to respond to, because my answer just kind of boils down to no, I don't really... Because, like, you're replacing a character with somebody else, and, I mean, I guess, I don't know. And like, as far as, like, the anime, like, anime original content could go, replacing a character, I guess Sataz isn't that important in the grand scheme of things, but to me, I don't know, it feels kind of weird when you could easily add in...
Right, well, we don't know that, too. That's the other thing. It's like, Sataz might become a major role later on, and, like, the issue is, like, yeah, even if right now it seems like that might be a good move because, he's not super important, he even also has a connection to Jing, so it would just, like, it would fit with replacing it with Kite in that way. But what if it creates a Sataz problem later on, And another thing is, like, if you want a suggestion about how they might have fixed the Kite problem, there were 2 recap episodes, so, that focused on Mito on Whale Island, so somehow if those could have been used to explain the kite connection.
Yeah, because I know in my video I had even talked about, like, oh, here's a scene in, like, the Hunter exam, like, right after Hisoka punches Gon, where he's in a tree, and he's, like, contemplating stuff. Like, the narrator is like, oh, what could he be thinking about? And then that's where the episode just ends. And it's like, oh, well, if you're gonna do that, you could maybe... So, I mean, like, you could add it in somewhere.
Yeah, and that would, like, again, going back to the One Piece adaptation, which, restructures things, like, Episode 4 is the Luffy flashback, Episode 18 is the full Zoro, like, expanded flashback, so it's, like, they just introduce it later, like, kind of in between arcs, so, that's why I say the recap episode might have been a good place, because, here's a huge info dump in between arcs, like, do Killua's thing, and then explain what Gon's deal is, kinda, so... maybe they could have done something, but they didn't, and it created the kite problem. Oh well. Anyway, you have another comment?
Yeah, there was a comment by V
That
talking
was
about
the one I had.
Yeah. Yeah, how Komugi is, she exists to be, like, her life is being, constantly, like, waged on Gungi. Like, if you're not the best player in Gungi, then you're basically worthless. So
right. And
she's very similar. There's a connection to
Yes.
Meruem there, and that's, how she's able to kind of break through to him and start to, change his perspective a bit, because he finds someone who is kind of operating under the same mentality as he has been.
Yes, this huge expectation that's been pushed on them. He's got to be the king of everything. She's got to be the queen of Gungi. Like they're the same and they connected. I was like, yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. It's good. Those were all the comments I had.
Yep, those were all the comments I had.
Oh, okay. There were more interesting ones. I just didn't feel like responding to them. So anyway.
Well, yeah, because some comments are interesting and it's like, oh, hey, that was cool. But then it's like, I don't really,
like,
to respond to a comment, you have to have a response.
Like, there was one about, I didn't write down the name. There was one about Pito explaining, like, why Pito's definitely a girl. But, at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Because, like, this stretch of they mentioned Pito's, like, protective like a mother. But then later on you have it's not that I disagree. It's that, like, the fact that, why did, if she was like outright a girl, why did Togashi primarily or only refer to her as in gender neutral terms? And the other royal guards are also compared to mother figures. So I don't know if he's going for something by like making the royal guards not because they all have motherly traits, and they're also extensions of the queen. So is there a reason to make them, if is Pito's gender neutral and the other two are just straight guy? Like, is there a reason to not make them as feminine while still have them other? I don't know if he's going for something there, basically. So, I don't know. Anyway, but
I don't know. There is also, never mind.
Okay, we'll maybe it'll come up during the actual discussion. So anyway, we kind of get going into discussion. The group is waiting in Nov's room for the start time. We kind of get a calm before the storm where we see how everyone's doing. Hina is moping. Welfin is snooping around because he noticed Nov's shoes, and he's he wants credit for doing something positive for the group, but so he's kind of sneaking around doing that. We got Chidu. Mathwiz has an announcement about Chidu. I don't know if she wanted to wait until later.
Oh yeah, I guess we can get that out of the way. We finally found the aesthetic character. If you've seen my tweets, because Chitu is just peak dumbass. And no, I don't know. I'm real like I don't know why. Like, I'm going through this story and just like randomly fixating on this one character. And so now there will probably be a Chitu video in the works,
yes.
Because in thinking about this character, I'm like, oh, there's actually some interesting little tidbits going on with this character, and they're kind of they fit into the world in an interesting way.
No, Chitu
like I just love the way that he just dies randomly by someone falling out of the sky. It's he is peak incompetence. He is worthless, and that's what makes him great.
Yeah, like I said last time, I think one of the reasons I like Chimera and Ant a lot is because not only are Gon and Killua like really great as ever, but there's a lot of side characters that are also good, and Chidu's one of them. He's a dumbass.
Well, yeah, and also if you consider like the tone of the arc, like everyone always talks about like, ooh, Chimera Ant, it's so dark, and all this stuff about humanity and the evil of humanity and whatever, and then there's just Chitu, who is almost pure comedy relief, and he's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. So we get a brief bit with Komugi, who's, she wants to know Meruem's name. And we sort of get the follow-up to Meruem's sort of existential thing last time, where he's wondering why he was born. And he's like, oh yeah, if I was, this is the mandate I've been given, then, he's fine with it, because he just thinks, oh, it'll be tedious to rule over everything. He kind of does another one of his, like, fake outs, almost, where, it seems like he's thinking this one thing, and the audience is being, or Chaya Poof is kind of the audience surrogate there in those cases where we're supposed to assume one thing of him, and then nope, he kind of flips it.
Yeah.
So they do kind of talk about like the mechanics of the end, because they're trying to figure out the best thing for everyone involved, because Meruem doesn't want to be seen all the time, but there are safety concerns.
He almost seems kind of like he almost seems like he's being kind of childish in this regard, because he's like, what do you I have to confine myself to this little circle that you'll build around me? Like, no, I'm the king. This is my palace.
Yeah, right. It kind of goes back to now the Komugi comparison, where it's like they do have this expectation on them, or where they have to, like, yeah, like it's interesting because he is the king of everything, but at the same time, or the born king of the world, but at the same time, he is really limited in what he can do, because of that. So interesting kind of power. I guess maybe that doesn't draw as much to Komugi as I initially thought, or maybe I've just framed it wrong. Anyway, it's neat. So, they talk about Palm a bit and wonder where she is, like, and they realize, like, oh, maybe Palm's with the king, and everyone's like, shit, let's hope not, but, because, Killua is still, like, trying to figure out why Meruem hurt himself, and, like, he can't come up with the answer. There's, everyone's just trying to think of, like, piece together what's happening there so they know what to expect. Or even
and then the part where Morel is like, in what situation would you hurt yourself? And then Gon is the one who gives the answer, and it's no. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Anyway, Wilfin and Yopi have a bit of a talk. Yopi we haven't seen a lot. Like, he was barely there last time. But this stretch chapters finally get more Yopi. And Yupi. I don't know. Probably, yeah. Anyway, just try and pronounce his full name, Craftsdwarf.
No, we're not going there. I don't want to add another word to my list of things I can't fucking pronounce. Oh God, wait till we get to the Dark Continent Expedition. There's a major character, and I don't want one of the fourth prince. People know when I say fourth prince. I don't want to pronounce that name. Oh God. Oh yeah, Wilfin gives his fake story to Bizef, and argues when the alleged bomb is supposed to go off, and he kind of he has a line about how, like, the standing above, like, massive crowds of people is better than intercourse, where it's just, like, more of him being a shit since yeah, I guess I can see that, having power over so many people being enjoyable like that, but Bizef continues to be a piece of garbage.
Of all the characters who die in this arc, it's a shame he wasn't one of them. But maybe he'll improve. Maybe.
Yeah, he's been stripped away of all his power, so, Anyway, but finally the appointed time has arrived. And then, so I will say, like, reading this arc all at once is great. I feel bad for the people who had to read it as it was coming out, because this is also when the hiatus has really started, and, like, you get a full chapter of Killua runs in a hallway and kills two guys, and there's one with Alcalgo, and that's the whole chapter. Like,
yeah,
I could see
that, and with the way that because we've already had the first stretch of chapters that we covered building up to this big, the big palace invasion. But then, like, even as the palace invasion starts, here's a cutaway to Welfine, this character who we've seen a couple of times but don't really know anything about, and he's dicking around doing some other stuff with these random people.
Shenanigans. It's like, how does this matter? Like, there's, everything is important. Like, the Welfine stuff goes somewhere, but being stuck and reading it weekly, I can see that being frustration.
Because like the arc is very cleverly constructed to really, like, the main things you want to see are, like, Gon's payoff with Pito. Like, that's one of the things we get at the very end. Like, that's one of the last things we get closure on.
Yeah.
And even then, is it really closure? But then there's also the stuff with Meruem, and you want to see where that goes. But Togashi, purely from, like, because, again, like, I love where all the material goes, and we'll talk more about it later, but purely from, like, just reading it and trying to follow, like, the plot of the story, I guess, and go, like, in a very linear sense, the story doesn't do that. Like, there's a lot of pieces all across the board moving around, and sometimes we'll cut away from the main plot to, here's Welfine, he's doing some stuff. Here are this girl and this character, and they found Bizef, and they're going to go do stuff. Like, yeah, there are definitely some cutaways that, especially when the chapters aren't coming out weekly, I could see being frustrating.
Yeah, and the art wasn't that good, of course, I presume. I never saw comparisons between, like, this part of the arc's art compared to, like, the early Chimera Ant and late Green Island parts where it was presumably at its worst. But I also imagine the art wasn't as good as it is in these volume releases that we're reading. So yeah, like, and that said, like, this stretch has maybe my favorite chapter in the entire series. But then so there's good stuff for sure, but I can see the frustration. And like, honestly, just reading it, and every time they showed like the time, like, you'd read like 5 chapters and it's been like 3 seconds have passed, and I feel like overwhelmed with like just the time comparison. Just
there
like
was
thinking about it.
I know that there was like a video which like compresses the entire Chimera Ant arc into the amount of time that it takes. I don't know if it's still up on YouTube or if it might have gotten like copyright hit. I'm actually gonna check that. But yeah, it's really interesting to consider.
No, it like I said, it's just like overwhelming trying to like comprehend the amount of like information that happens and the amount of like from what we see and the amount of time it takes. Like that's like I just was quiet for 5 chapters with material. It's nuts. Like so, and like it's definitely interesting, and I haven't seen something quite like it in another manga before like that. And like I said, it was like seeing it was just like almost overwhelming, and just like, oh my god, it's only been that long. And then like another 10 chapters passed and it's been 7 seconds, and oh my god.
Yeah, and this is where we kind of get into the stuff with like the narrator and the criticism it often gets. So I guess we'll get that out of the way now. Because I know like Digi made a video about how it's like an exploration of chaos theory and stuff, and so like we have to look at all the different ways that like the plan could have gone and see as things are breaking down. And maybe there are certain little tidbits, like there is occasions where maybe the art could have conveyed the inner sort of monologue itself.
Yeah, see, for me,
sometimes
reading
maybe it gets a little...
rereading it rather, and having also watched the anime, like, I didn't notice any narration that bothered me. Like, I can see it because in the anime you're stuck. In the manga, I had probably read some parts a little too fast, but and I've argued before that there are merits to having a narrator with regards to information that's better revealed non-diegetically, like characters' powers, where it's like, yeah, are they going to monologue about their powers all the time, like it worked in York New, but then York New also had the assassins, the guys who were prideful and cocky, were talking about their powers, and it was kind of annoying, even if there's a service point to it. So, like, obviously no solution is going to satisfy anyway, but go on. Or satisfy.
But anyone. Yeah, I think in certain cases it's really interesting because it happens so fast. You'll have moments where characters have to process a ton of information at once and try to like quickly find an answer. So like when Killua and Gon make it to Pito, and Killua sees what's going on, he's like, okay, well, I have to think, okay, this is what's going on, this is probably what happened, but I can't say that to Gon because he's going to spiral out of control, so how do I... there's a lot of moments like that where it's...
the earliest one that I remember is when Gon charges at Yuppie, and everyone's like, oh, he realized that, we don't know if Melioran's power runs out when he dies, or if he could be dead on the ground with Knuckle, and like everyone's processing like, holy shit, how did Gon process all this information? So, like, I don't know how you could have got that visually with like internal monologues, and even with internal like, I think also with narration is the narration gives it like a timelessness to it, where because it's non-diegetic, it's happening outside the story, where the characters are thinking really fast, especially when you get to like Netero dropping down in the Pito moment, where Zeno has a whole cutaway where he talks about the mind processing stuff in the heat of the moment.
That's
kind of
right.
Thing.
Yeah, really. The cutaway to Zeno is basically like Togashi, like as far as like anime and manga kind of like explaining their themes up front. Like I know with like when I did the Talk No Jutsu video, I realized, oh, there's actually a lot of quotes from characters just kind of saying what the point is.
Yeah. I had that too.
Togashi kind of does that here with Zeno, where he talks about like this phenomenon of time slowing down, and so in a way he's kind of like up front justifying all the narration. Like this is what, like, this is the point. Read the details.
Well, yeah, and what I was going to point out is, like, by making the narration timeless is that, like so imagine going back to the opening scene, imagine if all of it was conveyed just through internal monologue. So now, especially in an anime adaptation, that would be really awkward, because you'd just be jumping around between all these characters thinking, like they're almost having a conversation with each other, but they're not, because they're all independently thinking. And you're supposed to, like, suspend yourself and realize that this is all happening in literally, like, a millisecond, where a narrator, like, this auction just stops and the narrator talks, basically. Like I said, there's a timelessness to it. It's time to that. So, I don't know. I think, and I'm not going to say like, oh, you shouldn't be bothered by it. Like, if it bothers you, fine. Speaking generally to people who don't care for the narrator, like, I wasn't bothered reading it. I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it.
I remember at one point, like, when I first went through Hunter x Hunter, I think I was maybe not... Because, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, about, like, the pacing of the arc, and you want to see Gon get his revenge on Pito. You want to see what happens with the king. And so when things get slowed down even further, I guess there can be a little bit of like, you're making me wait even longer.
But Mathwiz, it's all about the detours.
There you go. The narration is all just part of the grand theme.
Yep.
I mean, like, yeah, I understand why people might not vibe with the narration. But like personally coming back to it now and just, considering it in the context of other stories, there's nothing quite like the Chimera Ant arc, which is willing to go into such painstaking detail over fractions of a second of information. And that just makes it really unique, if nothing else.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on to the actual, the raid, Pito notices, the dragon dive, and Pito's really happy about the dragon dive. Like, they get the heart in the mouth thing that,
yeah, I saw that.
And yeah, it's also cool because it's like the Zoldycks keep having their thing where it's like, oh shit, it's the Zoldycks. Like at New York knew too, because like Zeno, there was no mention of whether he was going to be here or not. With Netero, like we were expecting him, but now it's like, oh shit, it's Zeno, and I don't know.
Yeah.
One of those moments.
But yeah, yeah, but the way the Zoldyck family is used throughout the story is really interesting, especially in this case because you kind of get a bit of an interaction afterwards with Killua, even though it's really brief. But so in a way, it's like it's more of that like with the Phantom Troop showing up and fighting some ants. It's still kind of like progressing some stuff in the background of the bigger conflict, but it's all integrated really well.
No, yeah, it's cool. We get the brief exchange between Netero and Pito, which we kind of already talked about a bit. God, Netero, like the face he gives Pito where he's just like, that was a bad move, little ant. I'm just, he's drawn really creepy in a lot of parts, especially towards the end, but we'll get there. And then, we get Zeno talking about the speed and time perception thing. Like, he's even talking about with Silva later, and Silva's just like, okay, old man, okay, boomer. So that was funny.
I also thought it was interesting when Zeno said, like, oh, Netero's been an old man since even I was a baby, which I like characters like that where they're, it's a fictional story, so characters can be they can age as far, like, what is a reasonable lifespan in a Hunter x Hunter narrative, or is it just because Netero is so powerful? Like, One Piece kind of has that with Whitebeard.
Yeah, well, I think it was also mentioned...
Like, just these badass old guys that are able to... Like, they're so powerful that time can't even stop them.
Yeah, because I think it was mentioned that, like, Nen, mastering it does, like, reduce aging to an effect, and with Netero being a very extreme example, because he's also one of the strongest Nen users, so... No, yeah, but I like how you frame it, where it's like, they're so old, they're so powerful that even age doesn't affect them, right? Because, Netero is really powerful. Then we get sort of Netero's backstory about, he reached his physical limits and started praying, and he broke his limits. Able to do, 10,000 punches an hour, which I don't want to do the math for, but I know it's a lot of punches. Anyway, the group finally infiltrates. I think you mentioned it, because I'm just getting to this one part where there's this 2-page spread of the group arriving at the stairs, and then there's a follow-up 2-page spread where the perspective is slightly changed, and all the dragon dive arrows are coming down.
Yeah.
Just, like, you how did you put it? Chimera, the Palace Invasion is the paramount war for Togashi's 2-page spreads, which probably stands out even more because, like, not only are there way more, but, like, in general, there haven't been that many through the series so far. Like, there was Jing, there was the dodgeball game, and that's mostly it up until the Chimera Ant stuff.
And I think that's probably why this stretch of chapters was a much quicker read than any of the others.
Yeah, because I guess because think about it. Even though there is a lot of narration, because it slows everything down, there's also more art. Like he's just like more visual stuff. So yeah, it is probably a quicker read for that reason. Anyway, we start getting Yopi's stuff. He's mentioned. Yeah, he's different. I was remembering correctly from last time. He's the only of the royal guards who has he doesn't have as much human in him because he's more magical beast than human.
Yeah.
So it's like he's more animalistic, but he's got more brute strength for it. Which, as we know from Hunter x Hunter, is having more brute strength isn't necessarily a good thing. And he gets a good little arc where he has to become more human. But we'll talk about that when it gets more beats later. Then we get the moment I already talked about where Gon charges at Yopi, and he gives Shoot the character development. Because Shoot is, he was, a foil to Killua, so it makes sense that seeing Gon be a light, he sort of takes from that. And, just like Killua, it's just in a very, not abrupt, but very quick, example of that.
Yeah, it's crazy to, I think the part that kind of put the whole time perception in a perspective for me was, everything that happens with Shoot only happens within the first 30 seconds or so, and that's what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Though I will say the weird thing about there being so, little time happening, and so much it's also what is there? Should I mention every single beat? I don't feel a particular need to.
Yeah, because if you think about it in real time, Shoot. His role is he comes in, he distracts Yuppie for a few seconds, he gets beat, he gets the shit kicked out of him, and then he almost dies, and that's all in 30. That's all he lasts.
Yeah. And then once Knuckle gets his moment with him, and then Nob saves him, he's just out of the arc. So he's only here's this hunter, this pro hunter, trusted as a he was a student of morals, and then he lasts just a few a few minutes in this arc because they're up against some monsters. So yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Oh, and then you also get the moment with him and Yuppie where but I mean that's later. Shoot has a very good role in this arc.
Yeah. It's good. We'll talk about the Yuppie stuff later. Because first, Pito uses some trickery to get back to the palace as quick as possible, and then Yopi blows up the staircase, and Pito ends up with Meruem and Komugi, who Komugi is injured, and oh yeah, that's right, Zeno and Netero were also there, and this is a good moment with there's even a part where Zeno and Netero realize that intruding here would be a loss of all their justification and humanity. They're supposed to be here, exterminating bugs, and here they find a human showing compassion for another human who's injured, and concern for that person. Zeno even says it later. It's this isn't what, or he says it right after. It's this isn't what I signed up for, and it's good. And then the part where Meruem suggests they should leave. Zeno and Netero have a brief moment of distraction when Dr. Blythe shows up, and then Meruem just does ignore Meruem. So he's facing two of the strongest Nen users in the setting, and he's so confident that he just walks by them. He's the king. He is unchallenged, and he's not even wrong to do so. He doesn't need to take this opportunity to just finish them off right here, even though he very well could have. Oh my god.
Yeah, because there's the moment where the two characters are ah, shit, we're dead. He's gonna kill us right now. And no, he just passes through him. And Meruem is probably, in revisiting this arc, he's probably become, one of my favorite antagonists.
Nice. He's great.
But also the stuff with Pito, too, and how it kind of ties back into the little interaction with the royal guards that Alexander had mentioned in a video, where Pito says something about, it all comes down to what you want to do. It's more about the self. And then here you have Pito, who is trying to preserve not like an ideal that the king should be, but who the king is, because this. And she describes it later, where this person is important to someone important to me, and it's character development, and no.
Yeah, because Pito's kind of not being an individual basically, but also kind of is, by, I guess, since that's what she wants most of all, with like basically being completely sacrificial towards Miram's goals, where like. Yuppie, he kind of does a little bit of, like, him becoming more human is actually, like, subverting, like, not just doing, like, what the best thing to do with Meruem is, where he, doesn't kill, Moral, where it's like he left this dangerous threat because, the humanity he'd gotten. So, yeah, it's interesting to see how the Royal Guards go.
And then they end up having conflicting interests, too, because... it comes down later where it's like, well, one royal guard wants to protect Komugi, the other one wants to kill Komugi. What's going on?
And they both think it's best for Meruem. So Anyway, we go back to Yoppie, and Nav gets his moment where he helps Moro get his pipe back before readying up to fight Yoppie. Oh, then we get the hallway moment where I guess it wasn't the whole chapter, but where Killua gives Ikago a hand. By taking out the two ants. Oh yeah, Poof has a bit of an introspective moment, with his view as a royal guard and the king.
But also, okay, here's another moment where stopping to kind of having things moving in like slow motion, but giving all this like narration and all these like internal thoughts go. It shows how like. Even just that brief moment of hesitation from Poof, where he's so caught up in like his self-deprecation, he's like, "Oh, you're a failure as a royal guard," when like it clouds his judgment, when he could have immediately just gone to continue looking, but he doesn't, and as a result, Morel is able to confine him in the throne room with the smoky jail, and it's
he's kind of trapped with his own like preconceptions of the king and versus and. Like trying to figure all that out, and it's only like
he's
a second.
He's trapped in the prison of his own mind, and then he gets trapped in a real prison of
That's
smoke.
Exactly where I was going with it. Yeah, because he's only like it's like 6.5 seconds of Gon when Gon finds he recognizes smoke with Pito, and then it's at just 2 seconds after that when Moral traps Poof. So it's only like a couple seconds he's like thinking to himself, really, maybe a bit more than that because if it started before, but Okay, so anyway, then we get a moment where the dialogue was weird to me, because I did stop to think about it, but something was just kind of like, I don't know if it was mistranslation or even just like a slight, like, I don't know. Killua passes by Ikago, and Ikago says, "You owe me one," when, Killua was just the one who just helped him out, so I assume maybe it would have been like, do you have anything to say about that first before I explain what I think, or what I thought was weird about it?
Yeah, I was a little confused by it, too.
Because I'm wondering if maybe it's supposed to say, "You owed me one," because Ikago saved Killua. Like, Killua is indebted to Ikago for that, you could say. So it's like, if he's just kind of like, referring to that where it's like, "Yeah, you owed me one, so this is fine." Like, because Killua was, going out of his way to do this for Ikago, like, for his friend. And potentially risking his mission. Like, he needs to be at Gon's side. He really needs to be at Gon's side, very soon. So that was, and maybe, so by saying that, Ikago sort of, like, alleviated his doubts about whether this was the right thing to do or not, maybe, by saying, okay, yeah, you owed me one, so, even if, it got in the way of what Killua wanted, it was, he also got his, his debt out of the way with Ikago, so, I guess that's my best explanation, but it does involve a slight change of the wording. So I don't, because I don't know. I also don't see how Killua saving Ikago means he owes Ikago even more. So yeah, it was a weird. There was another line that gave me pause, I think, later on, but I forget what it is right now. So I might even, I don't know.
Well, because I know I'm looking at the 2011 subtitles right now, and it's translated as "I owe you one." So
that makes more sense. Where that maybe more sense. So because he's saying, and that still kind of keeps most of what I was saying. Where now instead of repaying the previous debt, it's now Ikago owes something else to Killua, and that or now so that makes more sense. So.
But it's also not like a thank you, because, you know, Killua has the moment later where he says, like, he had it earlier too with Ikago, where he says, you know, like, he doesn't thank his friends. And so, like, Ikago, he doesn't thank Killua for saving him. Instead, he just says, like, I owe you one. Like, right, okay, next time I need to save you, or something like that.
Yeah, okay, see, and that makes more sense. So, yeah, it's just, I mean, like, I will say, like, Hunter x Hunter overall is a strong translation. Like, I don't think we've had any issues with it like we did with Yu Hakusho, or, Bleach is also probably another good translation of Viz's, but, Naruto and One Piece had their issues, so Hunter x Hunter is another good one, but this one line is kind of weird, so it gave me pause. So anyway, Gon sees, Meruem and leaving with, Netero and Zeno. Netero points Gon back to what he's looking for, and we'll get there though.
I feel like this interaction is also kind of like knowing what happens with the two characters. This is kind of an interesting interaction because it's the last time that they encounter each other, and you think about like where they started, whereas like where they're headed. If you talk about like the evils of humanity, and just like obviously there's the contrasting character arcs of Meruem and Gon, where they kind of go in opposite directions. A human becomes a monster, and a monster becomes a human. But Gon is very similar to Netero in that, you know, Netero, you know, has the little rose, he has the bomb to really show off like the evils of humanity. So he and Gon are kind of similar in that respect, and so kind of looking at this moment, and just like the expression on Netero's face when he just kind of points the thumb back at the room. I don't know. I'm feeling something of a connection there. Between these two characters.
When you put it like that, yeah, because they both dip in. Yeah, you're right. They're the ones who fall basically in some way. I did want to bring something up because someone mentioned it a while back, and I just decided I'd reserve my thoughts until, you know, now, because Killua recognized Zeno's dragon dive technique, like when it started raining through the walls, and I don't understand how. Because he didn't know what Nen was until, so like, part of my response was like, well, like there's weird abilities without Nen, like Killua's shadow step, for example, like that's not a Nen ability. He could just make a bunch of like what appears to be duplicates of himself, you know. I think it was a conversation about like Nen secrecy and stuff, and just like, you know, the weird shit happening, because so like there's weird stuff in the setting without Nen, but then I don't. Like, I'm pretty sure without Nen you can't even see like most Nen things. So I don't know how Killua would recognize the dragon dive. Maybe it's a bit of a plot hole. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up.
I mean, I guess maybe it could, because I guess about like not being able to see Nen, that makes sense. My only thought would be like maybe because they're a family, maybe it's at some point like he told him about an ability that he has, but you know, like I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's an explanation for it. I'm just not sure what it would be. So, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention it before I forget. There's a bit of a moment from Killua where he's thinking about Gon stuff, and oh no, we're getting close to that. Oh man. Knuckle is internally debating about what to do with Yule because he doesn't want to interrupt, like he doesn't want to reveal that there's another enemy, but also he's crying because he wants to help his friend. Knuckle's good. Ikago runs into Chitu and Welfin, and Welfin's hiding, and Bloster is there. And he mentions I had to look this up because I didn't know who Hagya was. And it's Leol. He had another name before, and I just kind of, I've always, like, Leol's the lion name. It's easy to remember, you know? So that's just like, yeah, Leol. Like, even back in before he changed his name, I just saw him, I was like, yeah, it's Leol.
Hagya is his dead name.
Right. So.
Leol is a true trans icon. We stand.
Oh my. But yeah, when they when they mentioned Hagya, I was just I was like, who? So I had to look that up, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's what he was called earlier in the, like way back when the queen was still there.
Right.
Yeah, because even some of the chapter titles were like verse Hagya's squad or whatever.
Yeah, which I really should have noticed back when we were reading it. But anyway, Melioran's God's Accomplice only lasts for like 10 seconds because or maybe it's more like 20, but he said it would do like he could do maybe a minute. But yeah, it did not last nearly as long. See, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, because a lot of unexpected things happening. It's just like having to hold your breath under that amount of stress. Yeah, he couldn't do it.
And I like how that was, because even he mentioned like I like how he gave like the estimates of how long it might have he might be able to hold his breath, but then like they were vast overestimates, like he's even saying like, oh yeah, I don't want to smoke a cigarette because I don't want to have any regrets. Like he's trying to do the best that he can. But then, like, even then, the best that he can isn't the best he imagined himself to be capable of. So, it's just a nice little detail I like. Oh yeah, Shoot has a bit of a moment where Yobi does a big attack and Shoot, like, knocks himself backwards. And, like, he's like, I can still fly, but then the narration's like, yeah, he's approaching his limits. Because he's kind of losing it a bit. But yeah, Knuckle distracts him anyway. Or distracts Yopi so he can help his friend. Moral's trapped by Poof, or no, Poof is trapped by, but they kind of trap each other, I guess, because Moral can't just leave, even though as Poof's trying to escape. But Ikalgo is going down to save. He wants to save Palm, not for like the mission, but because she's a friend of a friend. Ikalgo wants to be a good friend because he's a good octopus squid boy, I guess. Okay, and now we finally get to, I think, like I said, it's one of my favorite chapters in the series, I'm pretty sure. Oh god. Gon and Killua reach the room where Pito's healing Komugi. And this whole scene.
Yeah.
Because, Kite even mentioned back then, what are you going to do if any of the ants have comrades? And Pito's completely helpless, protecting Komugi like a mother protecting her young. Gon's, mentally seeing Kite because he's far gone. Go on.
Yeah. This is this scene is so much because this is supposed to be the big payoff. We want to see Gon get revenge for Kite as the audience, especially from the manga perspective, where we did see Kite in chapter 1, and so we do get the. When Pito says oh, this person is someone important to me, and there's I forget what it specifically was the connection I saw, but no, it was because Komugi made the king who he was, and to tie that to Gon, Kite really made Gon who he was, because without that scene in the first chapter and without the interaction in the forest and the stuff with the hunter license and whatever, would Gon have become the same person? And so that's where I think Kite being in the first chapter and being an influence throughout the story, this is where it really matters, because there's that parallel there, and it's just the emotions you feel, because that's just how narratives work. You set up a conflict and then you want to see that conflict resolved. And shonen's these shonen action stories have done that stuff where there are these revenge stories, or a character wants to do this thing. And yeah, there are other stories that have definitely subverted in this way, where it's no, revenge is not good, or that's what Naruto is all about, is having to come to these peaceful resolutions. But Gon is not really a master of talk no jutsu. He does not have that going for him.
Nope.
So
well, because I'm not what I'm noticing is and that's actually technically 275 is the chapter that is my favorite, because this one going into that where we're talking about now, though. But because one thing I'm noticing, I'm just noticing Gon's greed again, where he wants it like this. He's gonna fight Pito so that Pito can save Kite, and he's trying to fight for that. But then he's also he's not able to just dismiss what Pito is doing, because this Komugi's a complete innocent. And Gon doesn't want, as established way back with the Zoldyck family, with oh, sorry, gatekeeper guy, I don't want you to get in trouble. Gon's not gonna let an innocent come to harm in most circumstances, but here it's that's very much going up against what he wants,
it's even described in the manga as he was in a valiant struggle against himself without any idea of even how to fight, because the whole situation flipped. He has gone into this situation. Pito is a murderer, cannot be redeemed. There's no redeeming qualities there. Inhuman, killed Kite, pure evil. And then he comes into this situation, which is the complete opposite. He's similar to how Meruem showing this very human protection for Komugi put Netero and Zeno off guard. it does the same for Gon here, and you can, the anime especially, like the 2011 anime episode that adapts this, knocks it out of the park with just, you can see the shifting expressions in Gon's face as he kind of goes from, he's got that anger, but he can't let the anger out against anything because deep down inside him, like, he doesn't want, it's similar to, like, you had mentioned the moment with the gatekeeper, because, I mean, when Killua mentions that, like, Komugi being hurt was kind of their fault, he doesn't, yes, he does do some terrible things, like using her as a hostage and whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't think he wants her to die, and that's like the struggle. There's definitely an internal struggle going on where he has this perception of Pito and all the terrible things that Pito did do. But there is kind of that growth on the part of Pito, and it kind of makes it sort of tragic because, like, as I was going through this stuff, I almost thought, under different circumstances, it had things kind of gone the same way with the way that Pito develops. Could they have maybe been friends? If Pito hadn't killed Kite, because like with the way that Pito's character changes, you get the scene at the very end before the fight where they say, I'm sorry, because again, like, you have Pito saying, like, Pito understands and comes to learn the importance of having, someone important to you, but way before that ever happened, Pito took that away from Gon. Like, that was who Kite was. And so it's interesting how the development kind of, it works against Gon's expectations, and like that's where the struggle comes from.
Yeah, well, like what you said about maybe they could have been friends is like, that's the thing with the ants is like, I think I talked about it last time, where Chidu's kind of like a microcosm where he's just really fast. But like the ants in general, like their first interactions with people are as animals. They're just predators, and yet even though they have the capacity for volition like humans do, they don't recognize that at first. So it's like if they hadn't come from an environment that was very like, it's natural, it's it's humans in nature, where they just kind of accept the ants like the NGL people because it's like, yeah, that's nature, it doesn't matter. But then they also have, since a lot of them were born from actual criminals, then they also have these other dark tendencies. So it's like, maybe if they were in a better environment, they could have been just normal functioning people who just happen to have like godlike power relative to humans. But circumstances pushed them towards being beasts. So it took them, like, by the time they grew to heal, like, especially with Meruem, that's like the whole tragedy of his character is that, even though he grew to become a human, it was too late, basically. The world decided that he shouldn't exist because of what he was, doing as an animal, basically. But anyway, but yeah.
And then I think as well as that, like, Gon just being forced to wait even longer, like, he has to continue pushing off his emotions, and that doesn't work. That's not healthy. And I mean, we had seen all the flashes up to this point of Gon and just like the complete just like rage on his face and all the shadows and everything. And so like this is supposed to be the moment where he gets that payoff where he can let all that out. But no, he's got to stifle it again. And
the part that gets me is like when he's like sort of dipping into like the sort of grief and like on the page Pito asks like, please let me save her, and then you get like a beat panel with Gon, and then you just get his eyebrows and his teeth and he's sweating, and he's just like he doesn't know what to do, and it hurts. It hurts. That's just what just really gets to me. And then like you said, like in the 2011, he's just like flopping between emotions because he's just trying to process it all. And the part Killua is trying to do the thing. Killua is trying to do what Gon trusted him to do. I'm stupid and impulsive. You rear me back. And Killua says, if you kill Pito, Kite will never be whole again. And Gon says, this has nothing to do with you. Like, and Killua, the dead eyes, like, oh no. Like, Killua's like trying to do what he was avoiding last time and trying to like be there for Gon and calm him down, but now Gon's rejecting it, and it hurts because Killua like,
yeah.
Because we see later when he talks to Palm and he breaks down, and
yeah, this is the first time that their dynamic, has really been, like, this is like the negative side of it. Like, I guess it had kind of been building up to this point, because Killua has changed. Killua is not the same person who didn't believe he could make a friend. Like now with Ikago, he made another friend.
Yeah.
So he has grown. And that's just kind of how relationships between people work. Like dynamics change, and as people change, like sometimes you have to kind of cast off whatever was before. And like I don't know, it's not that their friendship is like unhealthy in like the way that Killua can kind of clean up Gon's messes. Because Killua even says it later, and I felt like it was a really good capstone to like express that. He says, I've always cleaned, after all the stuff with Gon happens, and Killua, he says, I'm going to clean up your mess just like always, but this time you're going to apologize, because Gon kind of took that for granted. Like here, that's not what you do as a friend. You don't throw your friend I don't want to say maybe throw him under the bus, but like he's saying like, oh, he's kind of going back to Killua's roots and confirming, all the thoughts and insecurities that Killua had about himself. Because he's saying like, oh, you don't care. It doesn't matter to you. But that's not true. Killua's not that person anymore. But Gon is kind of being a
cold-hearted assassin. He's trying to help his friend, and Gon's being a little asshole about it. Right. It's one of the most selfish moments from Gon in the series, and I mean it's something he apologizes for later, because he damn well should. Yeah. But in the moment it hurts. Killua doesn't deserve this. But Gon gives Pito the 1 hour, and that's the end of the chapter, and it's so good. It's like I said, probably one of my favorite chapters, because it's just the character stuff, the interactions, the expressions. It's just it's really good. Anyway, back to the rest of the action. So yeah, shoot lasted a grand total of 20 seconds, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Knuckle distracts Yoppie. Meliron tries to go help him, but he has to do his own mission.
I think that's also part of what makes this arc kind of fascinating, because if you think about it, all the events that are happening for the course of an hour, Gon and Pito are just sitting there. Like all this other crazy stuff is going on in the background. These two characters are just sitting in one place, not doing anything, which is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to think about. Mm-hmm. I mean, like obviously there's reasons for it, but
yeah, no, it's if
good. You're looking at it purely at like what happens when, it's just kind of funny.
Yep. Ron has his kind of a little encounter with Welfin, where we learn Welfin's ability. Which I like how it mentions this later, where he doesn't even trust his own ability. And actually, it's because here you even have a moment where it fails. So it's like it's not even that he's like wrong to mistrust his, because Welfin just has no trust for anyone, basically. So
Welfin's little arc is really interesting.
Yeah,
like he's definitely a character I probably underappreciated the first few times I went through this, but here it's like, there's something here.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like I'm not sure if like could I make a Welfin video while you do the Cheetah video? Probably not. But maybe there's a point to say about him in general, because he's a small character in the arc, like just kind of doing his own things. But then he has like a really like he a really important moment later where with Meruem, So and maybe he'll show up in the future because he is going off to find a character who we're supposed to see later, or that the story has sort of said that he's going to show up eventually, or he's going to meet Gon rather. So we'll see. Then we get the good Yoppie moment, related to Shoot and Knuckle too, where like Knuckle runs away and then runs back when Yoppie went back and finds Shoot alive, and he Shoot's crying. Like he had all this character development. He fought so hard against someone who was just he only didn't even last half a minute against, and that bastard looked at me like I was dirt, and he's just crying.
Which is, and it's really interesting in the context of Yuppie's character arc as well, because here he passes by him and says he's not worth killing, but by the time he has fought Knuckle and Morel and all these guys, he doesn't do that anymore. He's like, okay, you people are kind of amazing, so you deserve the right for me to finish you off.
Yeah, like before it's like they don't matter for his goals, so like Shoot's not going to get up again and be like a threat anymore. It completely doesn't matter whether or not he does anything. But later, like, now that he has humanity, is recognizing them more as individual. He sees, like, okay, should I kill them or not? But he's like, he should kill them because of his mission, but doesn't want to kill them because he kind of, they helped him. He kind of likes him in a way, and it's like, yeah, it's good.
I also think it's kind of funny when Knuckle comes to that realization, and like, there's the there's the page where Shoot just like face plants on the floor as Knuckle is like, oh, and then he's like, oh, sorry.
It is a little funny. But anyway, then Knuckle comes back. He's getting mad, and then he gets really mad, and starts to actually learn his powers. Now he's feeling like, because I think like fear. I think I've just knowing, because like plants can feel fear basically. Like it's the most primordial emotion, like because it's probably the most helpful for survival. But anger is something that more, it's a bit more of a human emotion basically. So now he's pissed off because before he's just kind of been like there, just like, yeah, I'll follow the king's orders, whatever. Oops, I grew wings and flew into a giant rock wall. Oh well. Like now he's pissed off. So he's starting to get that humanity. And like there's even a cool moment to it later where he's like, he starts like his whole part of the fight is like channeling that anger and realizing, like, mastering it, which he does. And like there's even the part where Knuckles like, oh yeah, I'll trigger his anger, and then he but Yopi's like, oh no, he's mastered it, he's able to hold it back. But we'll talk about that maybe later if I didn't already say enough. But
oh, and here's one of my favorite moments.
Yes.
Best boy Cheetu shows up, and the balls on this guy, like he comes up to Zeno, one of the most powerful characters in the setting, and is like, well, you're not even the guy I want to fight, but and Zeno's like, so I'm just a warm-up for you, and he's like, yep. And then Zeno's just got that panel where he's just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to fight you, go away. But Cheetah's like, no, I want to use my ability, I want to use it.
And then Zeno, he's kind of talking about like, oh, he's having like this existential crisis because like he for the first time in his life, like he might have accidentally killed an innocent person, and Cheetah's just like, my ability's amazing, and no respect.
Like these characters have they have like no chemistry at all, but that's why it's funny, because like Zeno's like dealing with his own shit and Cheeto doesn't give a shit at all, and like he's just this ignorant kid. And then you should look up behind you. So, and I am not falling for that one. One of your friends taught me never to take your eyes off the enemy, and then he fucking just dies. And what I thought was interesting about that is that like, because he like, we were talking about how Moral was this sort of like, he's a mentor. He's even kind of teaching his opponents. He can't not help it. But Cheetu doesn't take like the positive lesson from Moral, or the best lesson, because like really like, because even he had his eyes on Moral a lot, but mostly Cheetu's failing was that it was a lack of situational awareness. And so like, but he takes like the quickest, easiest lesson he can from Moral, which is just the literal, always watch your enemy. But like, as a result, he gives himself tunnel vision. Like, maybe, he's really fast, so maybe he could have avoided Silva if he noticed him. But I just like, going back to the speed thing, is like he takes the quickest, easiest lesson he can. So even though he does grow, it's
it's the most shallow growth he could have possibly had.
Right.
And then he just dies.
Exactly. So I it's so good. I can see why you like Chidu. He's a good idiot.
And just like the stuff with his powers too, like I talked about it with you off the podcast, but Hunter x Hunter creates this world and like this power system where people can express themselves and represent themselves however they want. They can have whatever ability they want. But sometimes sometimes you're just a Cheetu where you have all this free reign and you make an ability that contradicts what your interests are. You come up with a new ability on the spot and it's useless. It's even worse. And then you just randomly die. There's something kind of relatable in that. Like, he would have been a good inclusion in my Jobber video, and I'm upset that I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, he would have been he's the exact opposite of Kaito from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, where Kaito inspires all this inspiration of being way out of his league and taking on these threats that are so far above him and still managing to do something. and not giving up and everything. Chitu's the exact opposite. He is the most incompetent, the most irrelevant, complete fodder. He's trash.
I also just think it's funny, like you know, you think your aesthetic character going based off Yu Hakusho would be like Karapika or Killua, you know, but no, it's the dumb cat, the cat boy.
And yeah, there's that little panel where Zeno's talking about the time being condensed, and Silva's just like, okay.
I should take your stories with a grain of salt, is what he actually says.
Yeah. But I liked your translation better. Okay, boomer.
I was thinking that's perfect. Yeah. So anyway, we cut back to Moral a bit. Like we start to see, okay, here's where they are after 3 minutes. And then we get the scene of Ikago in the basement with Bloster and Welfin, I think. Yeah, Welfin's there too. But yeah, Ikago finds Palm's message where she's like, yeah, assuming that I'm dead. I kind of like how we see all these characters, but Palm, we don't find out what happened to her until we see her again, I'm pretty sure. And then we find, okay, this is what happened to her, since because everything with her is pretty big until we see her is mostly already happened. So at this point already. Okay, then we go back to the Yopi fight, and I kind of talk about the moment that I already mentioned, where Yopi is pretending to be mad so that he can lure Knuckle in, and then he's about to kill him when Killua steps in. Oh, and then we get to see Killua's Godspeed, which is really cool, and it continues on he learned it from the encounter with the Dart guys, where he can use his electricity for higher reaction speed, and it's cool.
Yeah, I also like Knuckles' moment where he's going in for the punch, and he's like, "Man, I can never think this fast." And then it's like, "Oh wait, is this the life flashing before your eyes before you die, or whatever?"
Oh yeah, that's it. Then it almost was because that idea was even mentioned by earlier on when the arc started, when the invasion really started, I think. So the life flashing before your eyes thing. I feel like it was.
Yeah, but also Knuckle is the best friend you could ever want. What was the panel where it talks about his running speed, and he's like, oh, one time when he was in elementary school, he broke his friend out of a police car and just ran around for the rest of the day and evaded the cops. And it's like, yo, this guy, what a champ.
Knuckles really great, yeah. Also, I'm noticing this one page where Killua is fighting Yopi, and Yopi's sort of realizing these guys are a fraction of my strength, but I'm helpless against it. I can't do a thing. He's just pissed off. Even Shoot, who he had the elongated battle with and defeated basically, he was still alive. He didn't just crush him as easily as he physically could have. So and he's starting to realize oh yeah, Nen there's a lot to it.
I like the specific translation where he's like, aura's deep. Damn.
Me when thinking about the Chimera Ant arc. Me when thinking about literally anything. I don't know. I love reading into things. So.
And then of course you get the moment where Knuckle goes back to Shoot, and Shoot's not there, and he's like, "Where is he?" Yep.
Because Nov is, as we find out, he's still helping. He's just he's not gonna fight, but he can still be a support role. Because I pointed out he's got a really powerful ability, so it makes sense to pull him out of the fighting. But he's still really helpful with even if just here he gets Shoot out of the way, so he's safe, and now no one has to worry about him, and Knuckle can worry about avenging him on his own without having to worry about his safety, because there's other ants around. Something bad could happen. So yep. So anyway, back to Ikago in the basement. He has more of a sort of back and forth with Bloster, and it's he realizes the best thing to do here is kill him, but then he can't do it. He's got too much humanity to just pull a trigger on a life, even if it would be of great benefit to him and his cause. So good little moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then we finally get the payoff to the Moral and Poof thing, where Poof reveals his power, and they talk, they sort of break down whether Moral's action was the correct one, because there, I feel there's something that comes up later that I was comparing it to, where he talks about his experience, because like he was able to tell like, okay, something's like not right out there, so I should be out there helping. He just has this intuition, and like, which is why he justifies like, yeah, it was right to take down the smoky jail, where Poof argues that it wasn't. He should have held him longer, because he couldn't have fully escaped, and he might have been able to kill the B-sized regular Poof that couldn't escape, even if he got like 99% of his body outside. So and Poof does take away his pipe, so there's that. Then we get a really minor character for the arc, Hina, the ant girl, who she helps out Bizef, and they kind of end up, those two and Welfin end up together with the at the end of the arc, so maybe we'll see more of her, because relatively speaking, we didn't get much of Hina, so I don't know if if there's even more to this.
Yeah, all we really know about this one is that she's like a Nen exorcist, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, she looks cute, but she's all like she's only helps Bizef for the treasure, basically, like, selfish. I don't know. We don't really get a lot of her deal, so I don't know. Like I keep thinking about it, but it's like I'd love to see a Gyro / Meteor City arc, because that's where they were going to find gyros. So maybe Gon will end up there in a future arc, and I am looking for, because I really like this. The Meteor City setting is interesting, and I'd like to see more of it. And Gyro involved too. That sounds great. Oh yeah. So also back to the Opie bit. Moral makes a bunch of Knuckle clones, and there's a part where like, yeah, I got him, and then nope. Knuckle got him this, like, Moral's like, oh, there was never a real one, and then Yobi gets pissed off, and then Knuckle comes in and hits him, and yeah, there's the real one, and Yobi blows up again. And they're just like, because Yobi's like, he's trying to master his anger, but like he's still getting mad because he's evolving, but also he's not he can't match that level of experience in literally like 10 minutes. So it's just funny to see him like flop back and forth between like, yeah, I mastered my anger, and it's like, you bitch, I'll fucking kill you. So yeah, it's good. Killua runs into Amelioran. I keep mispronouncing his name, fuck. And they sort of talk for a bit while Killua is charging up. Amelioran recognizes like his Killua's sad. He's a sad boy. He has every reason to be a sad boy. Ooh, then we get the back to Gon for a bit, where Poof shows up, and Gon sort of like threatens like, yeah, he might, or Pito's mostly worried about it, and Gon's leans into it just because he wants, he has his own desires, and he's like gonna ignore this opponent and not refuse to give Pito the opportunity to fix anything in the situation. So
yeah, there was a specific moment where when Poof is like, I don't understand. Isn't he sitting there because he wants to save her? Yet you talk as if he would bring harm to her. And then, Gon just tells him to shut up, which almost seems like, if Poof had been able to press that, maybe the scene could have gone in a different direction. Like maybe somehow Gon could have been in some trouble because he would have had to deal with two of the royal guards, and like, would he have actually, killed Komugi in that situation? Because we do see that he's willing to, like he was willing to use her as a hostage and all this stuff. So he wasn't the most morally pure, I guess.
Yeah.
But would he go that far?
I don't think he would. But at the same time, it would be interesting to see him press to that point, basically, where, because he's never killed an innocent. He's killed some ants, but not a person. So. Yeah, and it is interesting because, yeah, if Poof had pressed it, because, like, that's what he wants. Like, if he would have manipulated Gon into killing Komugi, then, then that would have been for his benefit. But,
yeah,
didn't happen that way.
And this is also where you get to see Poof start to bounce off the other royal guards, because he's the one who is the most loyal to the sort of, like, collective ideals of, like, the ants. Like, he's loyal to the ideal king. Yes. And so any sort of like human interference, or the characters becoming more human, is a bad thing from his perspective. And so this is where he starts to clash with Pito, and later he gets kind of skeptical of Yuppie. And so I mean, Alexander made a whole video on Poof, and he's a good antagonist for this arc. He's good at being a despicable little shit.
Yes, he is. Yeah, it was a good video.
And I can understand why people don't like Poof, because he's good at making you not like him. But as far as him being a bad character, I'd have to disagree.
Yeah. But anyway, Yopi transforms. He sort of, if he, manages to hone in his or direct his anger into like he's got a fucking weird gun and with his shoulders like a face. I don't. Okay. And yeah, they also talk about how like he was actually pretty close to losing his Nen abilities. Like in 3 minutes or almost 4 minutes, even if he tempered his Nen, he would lose his abilities. So if he starts using more, he's actually gonna they got so close to actually like defeating him basically. So
yeah, that's probably one of the more defeating payoffs of the arc is Togashi lets us know, oh hey, they were this close, but they can't do it.
Nope. Anyway, we go back to Meruem and Netero. They find a former weapon testing site to fight in. Meruem talks about sort of his goal, where it's like, yeah, he believes there are humans that deserve to live, and sees Komugi and Netero as some of them due to their power. But Netero's like, yeah, I don't think humans are best livestock, so maybe I don't accept your deal. Poof leaves part of his body behind with Gon and Pito, while running off to find the king himself. Then we go back to more Meruem and Netero stuff.
This chapter is just really interesting from I don't know, like what's the specific verbiage I'm looking for here. I don't know, it's just like an interesting discussion of like ideals and philosophy and stuff, and talking about like the nature of power and just Meruem's whole growth up to this point. And obviously the contrast with Netero, who is able to assess Meruem's sort of character, but he's already come into this mission with an objective, and he's going to carry it out regardless. Like, he has to stop himself from like getting invested in
because like
Meruem's potential humanity.
Right, because he is like still a child in some ways, but it's also like, yeah, he's he has the power to change the world. Like, maybe his method isn't the greatest, but he's even saying like, yeah, I want to destroy all borders. I want to give everyone, I want to give perfect equality, or a world without unjust wants. Like, he wants to make like, it's not impossible, so maybe culling humans is not good, obviously, but like Netero says, like, he can tip either way between human or ant. So I kind of mixed up humant. I don't know. That's what he should have. Togashi should, not the Chimera ant arc, just the humant arc, right? No. I hope everyone cringed from that. But yeah, Meruem just he's not gonna fight Netero, because again, he doesn't need to. Like, he basically gets wailed. Like, the whole fight is him getting wailed on for the pretty much.
The most he kind of sustains before the big blast, the most he sustains is like, oh, I'm starting to feel like a mild ache.
Yeah, and Netero's going all fucking out, and it's like he successfully bruised Meruem, like roughly the damage I would, if someone punched me, just a normal person just punched me, like, yeah, I got a bruise, ow. Like, that's the strongest human in the world going all out against Meruem, like, holy shit. And yeah, the art with the fight is good too, because like, you posted a 2-page spread, and it's like, he says that like, I can hear Togashi's bones crumbling or something like that, where it's like, because the art in this, yeah, it's good, like the whole arc, good art, but it just took a while to come out, and yeah, I feel bad for Togashi's back. So anyway, back to Yopi, and we get some good Yopi moments where he's like, man, you guys are amazing. Like he admires them because now that he's like put himself past his rage and like able to compartmentalize it, he's like at like what these guys are capable of, and how they have like the fact that like he this strong had to come through these realizations to like master that strength. These guys, even with their lack of power, are still able to like match him, and he's like, damn, y'all are good.
In that sense, it's almost kind of unfortunate for the circumstances at hand, because if he had just kind of left to go do his thing, he would have gone bankrupt. The ability would have worked because he would have run out of time.
Yeah.
But no, he had his character development, and he became more human. How unfortunate. So as a result, they had to let him go.
Yep. Because he's saying like, yeah, I need to kill you, but then he bargains for the APR to be removed. And there's kind of like a sunk cost fallacy thing where it's like, when you've paid time or money into something, you don't want to you want to see it through, rather, even though it'd probably be better just to quit or, potentially.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, but Knuckle, because they Shoot got destroyed for this, Morals dying, they all the 10 minutes against one of this incredibly powerful being, but Knuckles not able to, he can't do it.
Yeah, and afterwards Morel is kind of understandably upset about it, 'cause he's like, you should have just let them kill me, and obviously Knuckle didn't want his mentor to die, but afterwards Knuckles trying to come to his aid, and he's like, no, stay away from me.
Mm-hmm. And then he's even like, let's fight, and Yopi he's like, I don't have a reason to be here, so I'm gonna leave. And then he's even talking and this is where he's also making a concession for them, where it's like, yeah, he should kill these guys because they're a danger to the king. Meliaran is he has that power, he still thinks it's teleporting at this point, I believe. So it's yeah, but then he just leaves, and he's like, he even does a kind of Knuckle thing where Knuckles yeah, we'll duel, fight, and he's like, yeah, fight me anytime. We'll fight as equals. He's extending a kind of hand to them, even as he's Yopi, he's good. Yeah, or he puts it, he has all this rage from what his encounter with them, but he doesn't feel like using it on them. So it's good. Oh yeah, and even though Knuckle lost, he kind of has a moment similar to or going back to the previous thing where, because yeah, he's they're animals, but he does want to protect animals, but now he's like, yeah, I can't see him as a thing we need to exterminate. He just sees Yopi as a person now, basically, which is also interesting because he's the most he was the least human of the royal guards. So yeah, then Nov shows up and reveals what he's been doing. Or no, we already saw that. Never mind. But he does help out. Okay, and then I think we get the rest of the Meruem and Neferpito fight. Well, there's a brief encounter between Poof and Yopi as they're trying to go chase down the king and find him. Oh yeah, there's the moment where Netero uses third hand and claps Meruem between his hands, and then Meruem just gives a little bit of wrath. From as he pushes the hands away, frustration, and Netero jumps twice as far as he normally would have out of fear, and he's so strong, holy shit. And then Netero manages to get through to him by making a game out of it. If you defeat me, I'll tell you your name. And Meruem's like, shit, now I have something to fight for. And there's also a bit with Netero sort of because he's been so strong for so long that he talks about how he's used to waiting for his opponents to make the first move. He's kind of actually I just realized it's actually the same handicap as Kenpachi from Bleach, where it's he's so strong, so he's like, yeah, I always let my opponent get a first hit on me, where it's he's so strong he needs to handicap his opponent, so it's he hasn't and now he's fighting someone stronger, so he has to deal with that exact same yeah, I need to try again, and and Netero needs to because he even had a whole death room where he was warming up, but he still hasn't, he's never gone against someone so strong, so and and there's even the whole part where it's thank you for everything that led me to this point. He gives the heart symbol, gratitude, he's finally able to get what he wants and fight fight is all against an unstoppable adversary. So, but it's all this gratitude, because it's basically the good of humanity, all this gratitude and thankfulness for the life he's lived and everything that it's given them. But it's also completely it's kind of useless against Meruem, who is also a human, and he's not even fighting for the first part, and now that he is he's just still completely like he even says like, wow, you're a great example of a human who's transcended their limits. I commend you, while he's like completely untouched from everything Netero's done to him so far. And Netero is like, why, you little shit. Like, do you have anything else to say about the encounter? Like, there's more to go. I mean,
I don't know. I'm looking at this one. Here's the one 2-page spread that I had sent to you, which is just like, holy crap. Like, the detail in just everything. There's like this like flowery background, the characters, the big, I don't know. Like this spread in particular is just a lot.
There's a lot of good imagery just generally too, because there's also like the whole needle thing where he talks, because he goes back to the rhythm and how he needs to like master that so that he can precisely take down Netero, and he's Merrim's like, it's just like with the Gungi, he's enjoying himself in this like field where he has to surpass his be perfect and master something and surpass himself, and like he's not being a wild beast, he's being a very calculated, and he does end up taking Netero's arm later, but that's there's a cutaway, and we finally get to Palm, and Killua's first instinct is that if Gon sees her, then he's gonna lose it. Killua realizes that she's doing she's not being honest about seeing him and or such, and they fight a bit. I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure the Palm and the Nen analysis, I linked it a while back, goes a lot into her character. Like I remember pointing out how like her hair Nen ability, she's guarding, she's putting a shield around herself, because like I don't know, and maybe that ties back to like, because that's the thing, is like she recognized her weakness. I think they bring up something in this stretch of chapters, because last time like I pointed out how she knows her flaws, about how she like like she's so aware of her like tendencies that she's like, I'll do this after this point, when I get to this point where I'm shaking, like you have about this long left. Like she's so aware about her tendencies, but she doesn't change at all. She's still like, she just like recognizes and accepts them, even though they're really harmful traits, basically. So it's like, she wants to be like romantically involved with people, but also like she kind of keeps these traits. So maybe it's supposed to be like her Nen, about maybe the post goes into it where it's like a shield around her, basically. So I don't know. Then we get a really good Killua moment where because he realizes that maybe showing Palm to Gon would actually be a good thing, because Gon's worry about Palm was another stressor that and seeing her alive and fine would alleviate that. But and then there's like a whole bit with she was an experiment to see if memories could be detached from emotions, so that to create perfect soldiers, because that's the whole thing with Nen, is that it's about individuality, and so ultimately like mindless soldiers are not like really in the domain of Nen, so to speak, or like being so like all the soldiers have to have some level of individuality, so the experiment doesn't work, basically. Are you there, Mathwiz?
Yeah.
Okay. He's just been quiet for a little bit, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, because Palm shakes off her control. The experiment was a failure, because because Knuckles shows up at the room with Poof and Gon and Pito. Poof wants to kind of leave to check something, but they kind of debate about that a bit, because Gon recognized that Poof was gonna sneak up on him and kill him. So, and he keeps Knuckle from being tricked. He even recognizes that that's not even the real Poof. Like he doesn't know Poof's abilities, but he's like, that's why he's doubting everything Poof is saying, and like Poof's like, shit, this kid is trouble, and he unnerved by his determination, and he says a line like, he might take a bite out of the king later, I think is what he says.
And that's what's kind of interesting, because Poof is concerned about Gon's determination, and so all the other characters, they have a level of humanity to them. Like in their goals, like you have someone like Knuckle, obviously, who kind of contrasts him in this scene where he hails him from behind, and he's So he, like, Knuckles going into this trying to find a way to, just like with Yuppie, he's trying to find a way to, like, reason with Poof, and he's, going through this with all this respect and whatever. Whereas Gon is 100%, or, mostly set in his convictions that he is going to, he's going to get revenge for Kite, he's going to take out Pito, and he's not going to make,
He'll see.
I mean, he's already made one concession, right. But he's not willing to make concessions in the same way that the other humans are.
He's more willing to reduce. He's more willing to reduce the ants to animals for his desires, basically. Where Knuckle, like, yeah, we have this mission, but I still can't bring myself to see Yoppie as something to exterminate. Like, God.
So it's funny that like Gon being less human than the others in this instance, it makes him more focused on his goal, and that's where like the will comes in, like his determination, like that. It's something to be feared because he's willing to commit so much to this without regard for life or anything really.
And I also realize he's kind of throwing away, like, because the thing about hunters is being good with animals, and he's seeing as human, cognitive or volitional animals or people.
Oh yeah. And then the part where that came up later, where it was like the flash of Kite, and he's like, all good hunters get along well with animals, and then
so he's making them animals so he can justify killing them, basically, if need be, because he's like back with Melioron, where he's like, oh yeah, if you were lying, I could kill you without reservations, and it's like, oh god. And then because of the Poof stuff, he asks, this was that moment I was comparing, because earlier I mentioned Moral. He was like, okay, based on what I'm sensing from outside of my smoky jail, is like I should drop this because bad shit is happening out there. Like, he was able to tell that from his experience. Where Gon kind of has this moment where Pito was like afraid because she just realized, like, I'm getting better with Dr. Blythe. I could do this like I already she gave the 3 to 4 hour figure because she kind of figured that Gon would like knock it down to 1 hour, and he's like, oh, that's perfect, I need an hour. And then she was getting faster with Dr. Blythe, so Gon, and like, I can finish this 10 minutes earlier, and Gon's like, okay, you have 10 less minutes than before. Like, he's got like such a talent, like innate talent, that he's almost able to like perceive things like on a supernatural level almost, or it's just a coincidence, but Pito thought it was like, maybe it's just coincidence, but then like it's also so foreboding that because it's just so specific.
And then there was the moment where Poof tried, like, Poof and Pito kind of had like that secret hint through a conversation earlier, and then later Gon is like, Poof is going to where the king went, south, and then Pito's like, wait a minute, because Gon picked up on our conversation earlier, and so then Pito's very like, okay, I gotta kill this guy now. Like, I believe Pito's the one who mentions.
You're right. Yes, I just noticed
reaching the king.
Yes, I just noticed. I mixed it up because I just noticed that. Well, because I thought it was in the scene, or because we do come back to them there a bit, but so I just mixed up the characters who thought that, because it was Pito, because Gon's he's kind of scary. But yeah, Pito decides to kill Gon to protect Meruem. Then we get the encounter with Ikalgo and Welfin in the basement area.
Other than the stuff with Chi-Tu, this is probably the scene that I like was able to appreciate much more on this like reread.
Oh no, it's really like the sort of like clash with determination, where it's like Welfin, he's his ability is meant for negotiation, where he causes pain in people, but then like Ikalgo
but
shows...
he's all so it's like a negotiating tactic, but also it's not like, he's also kind of a coward in his own way, because he is like, oh, I'll kill you, but he never actually like goes that far. Like, he's all about like trying to intimidate people, and so in a way he's kind of like, I don't want to say style of not what's the word I'm looking for, like all bark no bite, which is he's the wealthy, he's the wolf, ha ha ha.
That was perfect. Anyway, go on.
Maybe that's why he's got the wolf design, because it's theming through the character design.
Right. Well, yeah, Cheetah's the cheetah. He's fast. It's like, damn, maybe. Welfin is also good because like he's threatening Ikalgo's like well-being and life, but Ikalgo's like, yeah, I'd throw away my life for this, and so he's completely ineffectual, and like then you have this sort of back and forth where it's like the ability goes down when he like caves, basically,
Yeah. So like when he's like telling the truth and stuff, that's when, you know, the ability goes away. And I love the panel where Ikago's like, it's so easy to pull the trigger when it's only my life at stake. Or when the only price is my own life.
Yeah.
Because it shows like Welfine has this perception that like, oh, Ikago's a coward because he wouldn't kill this guy. When Welfine is kind of the same way. Like, it's not that he wouldn't kill. So in a way, like, that ends up working in Ikago's benefit because Welfine is like, oh, well, if he tries to kill me, then my ability is going to kill him, so I'll be fine. But that's not what Ikago does. So in a way, Ikago's it's I don't even know if I'd say it's merciful because because like Ikago is like in a way there's almost kind of a sinisterness to it because like he's not willing to kill the guy, but he's willing to kind of like torture him to, you know, because he's like shooting him to incapacitate him and keep him out of the way. So I guess it's not, the purpose isn't torture, but he's just trying to make sure that he doesn't harm any of his friends. But he won't actually go all the way to kill him. So him being merciful in this case kind of saves him.
Right, and well, it's also interesting for Welfin's character because like he talks about like his backstory with Gyro, how like, you know, Gyro had his whole thing with his dad, and you know, like where, oh, I was cared for my dad when I was sick, but no, his dad, the neighbor did it. His dad was just like didn't give a shit at all. And where Welfin was like had to remember, even as a Chimera ant, he remembered his like his dad trying to strangle him to death, and the woman behind him just watching. Like he joked with Gyro about how shitty their childhood. Like they connected in like their bad circumstances and were, you know, they were comrades. So it's like at the end of the day, he just wants to like, you know, even though he has these deep trust issues, like he still wants to connect with someone, and like, you know, he's like, oh man, you know, it actually feels better telling the truth or something like that, or it's so easy to tell the truth. That was it. Like,
yeah,
like he's able to open up and connect to people even with all this distrust. So what were you gonna say?
Yeah, that's really cool.
No, yeah, Welfin's another really like good small character who just has this minor but consistent role, and yeah, with the good payoff, and it's good.
It's where like his ability plays into the character arc and stuff too. It's Nen is a good power system.
No, yeah, I I love the way it's helpful for characterization because like it matches the personalities. Like, you know, like I forget if I mentioned it last time. Oh no, I think I did. With Kite's power that he thinks is annoying. Like when he was younger and came up with it, he probably thought like, yeah, this is a great limitation because it's random. I'll never get bored with it. And then he's like older and his personality changed and he's just fucking annoyed by it, you know? So it's like, you know, even like, and that was just a complete like extrapolation, but it's like, it's fun to imagine like why the character chose the power. Why did they think this power would suit them, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, with Welfin, it's like, you know, he explains it. It's a negotiation tool. He doesn't even trust it to use it. And its ability that, you know, in the power wanes or waxes depending on, you know, the honesty and dishonesty of the characters. So, or what is it? The, you know, how much they, you know, comply, and yeah, it's, and then it's good.
I also like there's a little joke in here where he's like, oh, I'm dying, vision fading. And then he's just kind of like, Ikago loads another bullet in the chamber and he's like, and he just kind of like tries to peek his eye open, and Ikago's got that mad face and he's like, I'm going to shoot you. He's like, wait, no.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. But it doesn't have anything to do with Meryl Mergan, so why are we cutting away to this? Why do I have to get like 5 chapters to this when I want to see the good stuff? No, it's fine. It's good. So anyway, Meruem takes off Netero's leg, and he's just like, you should use Nen to stem the bleeding, which so he's referring to the kind of thing that Hisoka was doing. Or no, he just says to stop the bleeding, but yeah, I thought about the thing that Hisoka did. But Netero goes like a step beyond, where he just like regenerate, not like healing factors it. I guess.
Well, he just like squishes his leg or something in such a way that it like closes the wound.
Yeah, it's.
So I'd imagine there's like something, because like afterwards when he's used his zero hand and he has no Nen left, you see like it's bleeding again, and it's like something to do with Nen.
Yeah, well, because like
it's just his.
What I just thought of it now is because, you know, and maybe, like, I've always wondered if this would be possible, maybe where it's, like, because Melody can kind of heal people, I think, but, like, just enhancement in general is with the body, so maybe, like, it's possible to make an enhancement ability that, it's like a healing thing, where, you know, it just restores yourself, it restores yourself faster, so that's something I could see existing. I don't know if that's what this is, Presumably not, because there's I don't know, I don't see any Nen aura, but
well, because we did have the
thing later, so
because we did have the moment in Heaven's Arena, like you had said, where Hisoka, when Machi needs to repair his arm, she's like, okay, turn off your Nen or whatever, and then you see like the blood gushing out again.
Yes. But yeah, oh yeah, so then Meruem even does a cold shot where he says that like he even mentally brings up the Gungi stuff, and he talks about his the rhythm stuff, and I'll find out what you subconsciously favor and exploit that. So
and then you get the exchange where in the 2011 anime it's just a big Sakuga fest, but it's like less than a minute. There's over like 1,000 blows, and
yeah,
I mean you get this big 2-page spread with like the flower, and so I mean I guess this is one where it like in the manga form it's interesting because it like leaves it up to the imagination, whereas obviously in the anime you can show that, and so they go all out with the Sakuga for it, and so I don't know, I like both versions.
Yeah, and then of course he threads the needle and takes the other limb.
And then Netero is all like, "You think I only need one hand to pray?"
Wait a minute, hold on. Back on the airship, what limbs was Netero not using during the ball game?
Oh shit!
Because if there's a connect, like, oh my god,
was it the left arm and the right leg? Wait.
Oh please, oh my god, I need to double check that right now. Holy shit, that's a great. Hold on, let me go back to my old volume. It was before Trick Tower, right, or was it after Trick Tower?
It was before.
Okay.
It was after the cooking phase.
Right. Because I noticed that the limbs were on the opposite sides, basically. And I'm pretty sure that's how it was during the ball game, and I'm like, oh shit.
So the ones he didn't use were his right hand and left leg, but in this one it's the left hand and the right leg.
So he lost the ones that he used back in the ball game, basically. I don't know if there's anything to take from that, but I just thought like. That's an interesting connection, because that's what Netero is introduced doing, and now he dies on he dies on the reverse basically. So because he was using the limbs that he lost, and now he's forced to use the limbs that he wasn't using back then, basically. So I can't believe I never noticed that before. Holy shit! But then he uses the 0th hand, where it's like the merciless roar from the merciful goddess, where it's just like, yeah, not even the merciful goddess can she's pissed off, so like basically like everything all out kind of thing. And yeah, he uses all his Nen and he just gets really wrinkly, he just loses it basically, and Meruem's like, yeah, he's kind of scuffed. And yeah, he kind of comes to his final decision where he's like, yeah, individuality doesn't work for our ant structures, so We'll keep a human preserve, so, and that's like his concession, but then Netero gets really fucking creepy. Like, I have a strange feeling the anime didn't quite handle this, like with the detail that Togashi draws the wrinkles with. His fucking like the eyes go hollow, the mouth, it's creepy. And even Meruem's like afraid because he's like, this person should be quivering before me. He doesn't have any. His Nen is gone. He's like old, or he's basically shriveled up. But he's nope. He's perfectly fine.
No, yeah, there is something particularly like sinister looking in the pure black and white imagery.
Yeah, no, it's spooky. And yeah, I think there was a comment on the last episode where someone pointed out that he wore the heart shirt, and then he pierces through the heart shirt to cut. Well, I mean, you don't see that part in the visual because it's not like he takes off his clothes. It just shows his naked body for the effect. And but yeah,
wait 1 second, Manuel. Let me just take off my shirt. real quick.
Yeah, exactly. That's obviously not what happened. But yeah, he does pierce through the heart shirt to stop his heart, and and so. What I was going to bring up here is there's a kind of comparison I made between between Netero and the Royal Guards, because like at the end of the day, like Netero he's kind of a servant, so you could say, to the world at large, where he's like giving himself to this bigger group and trying he's so I thought like, because like later, like just after this with the Royal Guards, is you have them sort of sacrificing themselves for their leader, basically. So I was I've considered that. I don't know. Again, I don't know if there's anything more to take from that connection, but I just sort of realized that, like, oh, okay, so Netero is sort of offering himself for this greater cause, just like the royal guards do. So, and yeah, of course, there's also just the whole general stuff with the rose, which the poor man's rose, which is big bomb, poison bomb, as we find out. And yeah, it does more to Meruem that, like, this is the strongest Nen user in the world using his strongest technique, and he scuffs up Meruem a bit, where, just this one weapon of mass destruction made by humans, no Nen, no anything, it does far more to Meruem. So, and then of course the narrator asks if, are humans so different from ants, which is, yeah, the point is that they aren't that different, it's just like the circumstances, the environments, are what, and of course, like, yeah, the Chimera ants do have, like, their nature as, like, really powerful beings, but, they still have the capacity for humanity, so, and then I just noticed this part, I probably should have noticed it before when I was reading it, but, so Knuckle sees the poof segment, and he was like, the narrator's like, maybe Knuckle he's thinking that maybe he can reach a truce, after his ordeal with Yopi, he's, like, recognizing the humanity in the ants, but then, like, the poof segment sees the rose, sees the evils of humanity, and he turns, like, he's pissed off. He has the ant-like expression, and Knuckles' hopes were crushed because, like, how do you react in that situation? Like, the king is possibly dead by this horrible weapon, and there goes the truce, basically, any potential for a truce.
And then you even get the line from Yuppie where he's like, I was wrong. Once we find the king, we'll kill them all.
Yeah.
So at the same time, like, Yuppie goes from, these humans aren't worth killing, to, okay, they're amazing, they are worth killing, to, these humans are despicable, they're evil, we have to kill them all.
Yeah. And then also Knuckle has the, like, he saw an insurmountable barrier in Pooh's face. Like, he still wants to reach a truce with the ants, but he just sees it as, like, impossible now, like, because of basically what Netero's made to do because of the world around them. Like, the world refused to accept the ants. They just, like, they're not there on the ground. They're not seeing them as, like, people. They're just seeing them as monsters that need to be exterminated, which is, it's not even completely unfair because, yeah, Meruem just said, like, I'll leave some of you alive and then rule the rest of the world. But it's also, the circumstances were not good. So, but anyway, they find, God, but, like, Yopi cries out when he finds Meruem, and, like, Poof's crying before he even gets there because he knows it can't be good, and Meruem's just a charred wreck, and oof. But yeah, they go back to sort of, like, really, Meruem hasn't, like, we haven't seen him eat since, like, when he was relatively, like, just first born, and now he's eating, like, he's describing the best food he's ever had, because that's, how he got power, is consuming it, and, like, I like how he gets abilities from his, the Royal Guards. Like, they even say, like, our abilities were never meant for us, they were meant for you, because he's able to use them even better. Like, he could take Yopi's rage, but because he's much more, like, emotionally, like, capable, he can use that ability even better. So, and like I said, it's compared to they're the extensions of the Ant Queen, and, so, I do think it's interesting that even though they are male, they're still evoking, like, like, there's even a direct 2-page spread of a mother breastfeeding a child, and that's what it's compared to, because they give their whole, it's even more extreme with that, because they give their entire, body, like, Yopi becomes a kind of little, like, pixie thing like Poof does, even though that's not his power, because he gave, of how much he gave, basically. But anyway, Palm, Ikalgo, and Killua.
Yeah, you get this, the part of Ikalgo, coming out from the underground, and he's like, what's happened? It's only been half an hour.
Yep, and like, everything's just fucking destroyed, like, in moments, but in, just minutes. Knuckles and Meliron also arrive, and they just sort of discuss, like, okay, what the fuck do we do? But, they're prepared to fight to the end if they need to. And then 50 minutes pass, and actually, I just noticed it's actually less than 50 minutes, because, Pito finished early, and, like, it's only barely 50 minutes after the palace invasion started, so, and they only met, like, after a few minutes, so, it was more like after longer than 40 minutes that the operation actually took, but once it
but Gon just instantly recognizes when it's done, and he's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, because Pito even reasons that, was my slight hint of relaxation enough to alert him that it was over? And he could also just, you could also hypothetically see that, like, her stomach's all, like, good. She's good now.
And Komuki coming to regaining consciousness, and she's just like, "What's going on?" And Gon's like, "The next time you speak out of line, I'll kill her." Because Pito is just like, "I want to," and no. Gon is like, "Nope, we're done. I gave you all the leeway I could give you."
Yeah, and then like he tells them to stay with Komugi to sort of keep his hostage, but he also just rejects, like, Kill was there. Paul, like, I forget if Paul was there or not.
The part where he's like, "I trust Pito," and then he does the thing with the hostage, and then he's like, "So you'll trust me too, right, Pito?" And it's just,
there's no trust.
So sinister.
And yeah, he's also he's doing everything alone. Like, Knuckle offers to help and he just rejects it. And and Komugi's just like, what the fuck is going on? Where's Leader? Who are these people? Like, this poor thing.
I mean, and like, I don't know. Like, I guess there's a degree to which you could maybe say that, like, Gon wanted to take care of Pito himself, so, like, maybe he knew from the outset what he was going to be willing to do, but I don't know. Like, there are a lot of different ways that different characters approach it. Like, at one point, Ikawa goes like, "Oh, okay, so we'll if Gon gets in a jam, we'll all die with him together." But then it kind of gets flipped, where Kill like, "Well, if I went with him, maybe Pito would take me hostage, and then we'd have to do a hostage exchange, and then we'd lose our advantage." And then you have Knuckle and Ikaga, who are just like, how many bloodbaths did they endure to reach this mindset?
There's a lot.
Because, there's definitely, like, Ikaga was saying, like, oh, Gon's disrespecting Killua's determination to die with him. So, yeah, I don't know. There are a bunch of different angles that the characters approach it from, so it's like, it's messy.
Yeah. It's chaos. So anyway, we go back to Meruem, who is in full form again. And I remember I talked about, like, oh yeah, it's kind of like Cell. Like, he's just vanishing towns. He's got the needle tail thing. And this, I didn't even connect it until rereading it, but it's like, this is kind of a bit of a perfect Cell moment, where it's like he gets destroyed,
I was gonna say,
and then he gets revived, like, in perfect health, and stronger even. So it's just like, it's its own take on that, even if it's like... which, I don't know, it's always interesting because, like, Togashi's talked about in interviews how he sees Toriyama as like a god, like, like, I also thought about in One Piece there's Weevil and Bakuin, where it's like I compared them to or someone else compared them and pointed out to me where it's like Boo and Babidi, where you got this, like, giant, well-meaning, really strong idiot who's being manipulated by this piece of shit. So it's like, it's interesting to see all the authors reflect on Toriyama. And when Bleach, when Ulquiorra and Yami showed up, I was like, hey, look, it's kind of like the Vegeta Nappa thing, or maybe you were, or, just like, he's just so... Dragon Ball, I've never seen a work that so many people go, like, this work inspired me to do manga, or do art, like, it's wild. So it's just kind of interesting to see it so, like, oh yeah, there's another connection, between, like, this, it's similar, and but it's also completely different. Like, I this is my third time, and I only now noticed it. So,
can't wait for the Dragon Ball Nen Show when we talk about how the Cell arc is a deconstruction of humanity and.
Oh yeah, oh god, deconstruction. I get to talk about that. I've been waiting the whole podcast to talk about the only half of the Team 4-Star video that I actually watched.
Oh, you didn't even finish the video?
I was frustrated. Because the first point they made was really bad. But anyway, we'll get to that. So anyway, Meruem. So, okay, how do you feel about the Meruem amnesia? And do people bitch about it? Because amnesia is a thing people bitch about in general.
I mean, I think it kind of works as like an extension of him wavering between, human and ant. I don't know. Maybe people have complained about it. Because I feel like that's something I've been like long enough out of the. I don't know. It's not something I've heard recently, but it's probably something that somebody somewhere has said something about. Yeah, because see, I personally like all tropes can be done well or done poorly. It's all a matter of context and what it offers. And one of the reasons I actually
one of the reasons I like amnesia as a trope is because it puts a character in this sort of state where they can be influenced by the world around them, or alternatively, they're like, because the thing they most remember is generally the thing that's most important to them, or at least when it's done well. And like that's exactly what's happening here, where it's like, because yeah, you mentioned how it's like, is he a monster or is he a human? And at the end of the day, he's human because the thing that's most important to him is not like dominate. Like Poof's trying to show him, look, you're the God King who's dominating all of these people. You know, that doesn't matter to him. You know, his enemies, they don't matter to him. He just wants to play Gungi with the person who is the one he connected to, the one who's the most important to him. You know. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good implementation of the trope, basically.
At the end of the day, the savior of humanity was the power of friendship. Although I guess it's the power of love, whatever you go with.
Yes, the power of Moe, alternatively. But yeah, the new connection with Merum, like he's able to tell that Poof is lying to him. Later, Yopi talks about like why he spared the potential enemies, and he's like, you know, he's even like, I'll accept any punishment. He's like, well, you were honest with me, so why would I punish you? You know, like, and yeah, his capabilities are like, it is kind of interesting how this like plays out, because it's like they don't explain the poison to the rose at first, you know, so it's like the situation you could always say, you could almost say it's like hopeless in a sense, like fighting wise, because it's like it's the king. Netero, like oh, I guess it's also kind of a Vegeta Boo moment too, even though that's even more distant connection, where it's like, you know, character sacrifices himself to destroy really big powerful thing, and really big powerful thing is completely unaffected. So it's like the situation, like from a fighting perspective, is completely hopeless. They can't beat Merum. The best they could do is the APR basically and remove his Nen. Good luck. Like,
well, yeah, because there's a moment. There's the moment later where Melioron is like, "Oh, but with the two of us, we could." And Knuckles like, "Okay, well, you want me to stay within a close enough radius and not get hit?"
Right, for
however long.
How many, like it took what 15 minutes or so for them to do it to Yopi. And that's Yopi. This is Merum, who's even like stronger, so it would take like, yeah, let's just stay with the king for like, you know, 20 minutes to half an hour to remove his Nen, and then we can have a chance to really hurt him, because he's still really physically powerful. Like even without Nen, I would not want to fight, you know, want to imagine a character fighting him. So like, yeah, it's basically hopeless from a fighting perspective. So the only chance is, you know, some kind of like, you know, peace or something. But obviously that's not how it goes out. By the way, they fly back. Poof goes out to find Komugi to do it, because he recognizes that once he remembers her, you know, he loses basically. Oh yeah, that's right. They do the everyone hides, and oh yeah, that's right. Killua. God, I love that shit, because Poof is like, he's not really physically like the strongest of the royal guards. He's just really hard to kill, and Killua's ability is like a perfect counter to him, you know. So because it's lightning, it doesn't size doesn't matter. So it's cool. Oh no, I forgot about something. I was like, oh yeah, the king, Komugi. Oh yeah, what about Gon? Oh boy. So yeah, Gon and Pito get to. I skipped some things that I already kind of mentioned. So if there's something I missed, we're at that moment now. So yeah, anything to say, Mathwiz, before we get to the Gon Pito stuff?
Sorry, I thought I heard a knock at the door, but it must have been next door.
Okay.
So I had slipped away for a second.
Oh, okay. Did you have anything to say before we get to the Gon Pito stuff, or because I already mentioned some things, but nothing I wanted to dwell on that I didn't already.
I mean, the scene where they're trying to like, where Killua squares off with Poof is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I said, Killua has the best counter for his splitting apart stuff, because lightning doesn't matter, or yeah, lightning size doesn't matter with, yeah, I already said it.
Yeah, because he can just destroy the cells, and then Poof can't regenerate or anything. So it is the perfect counter, unlike Morel, where Poof kind of had the perfect counter to him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, back to so yeah, Gon and Pito, they go down the hallway. Poof uses trickery with Welfin to sort of tell Pito that Komugi's safe, so Pito can go all out, even though it's not true. But Pito doesn't know that. And then Pito finally tells Gon that this man is already dead. And before we go, it's rough. Before we go into that, because I want to talk about the Team 4-Star deconstruction video, where it talks about how Gon was optimistic, and then this happened, and all the optimism is gone. So it deconstructs Shounen. So I started reading the book. Let me get the name. Deconstruction by Christopher Norris. I'm only 20 pages into it. That's not what a deconstruction is. A deconstruction is about language. It's sort of
oh god, he's got the book.
Yeah, no, I've barely started it. It's slightly above my reading level. I'm trying, and I did put it down for a little while. I've yet to see some I think okay. So the part of something I realized with genre deconstruction is that a genre can't really mean something, because that's the thing about deconstruction is it's from we're sort of a different media literacy time, I guess, and I'm probably that sounded really stupid, and I'm probably not making any sense. I don't know, we read things differently now. Death of the Author is another conversation I heard that, where it's the context it was originally used in when it was started, when the Barthis first came up with it, was very different from media literacy criticism now, words. So I don't know the full arc of deconstruction, but so the Team 4-Star argument, I just thought it was really dumb back when I watched it, because what their argument was is optimism, and it's it uses the realism argument, where it's because it shows something more realistic, that means it's deconstructive. That's not the case. It's realism, not deconstruction. And my issue with it is not only is that a shallow reading of the whole moment with Gon and Kite and stuff, and but you could replace Gon with Luffy and Kite with Ace, and everything they said it's also a shallow reading of the Marineford War. So I guess One Piece is also a deconstruction, because it has failure and grief, and that's not what a deconstruction is.
Well, because I mean another example I think of, because I just considering it from the whole the optimistic main character has the moment where all hope is lost, the pain arc. Naruto and Jiraiya, he has a big breakdown, and I guess the thing is those characters, but they come through in the end, they get but I mean that eventually happens with Gon, he gets a chance to start over. Kite isn't dead, Luffy bounces back from Ace. It's what is deconstructive? If you want see, and it's not with the shonen genre, it's more with Jump itself, but Madaka Box is very meta in a lot of ways, and it outright refers to the Jump motto of friendship, effort, victory, and it does aim to deconstruct that motto, and also in doing so sort of go find another sort of meaning. A character argues that it's power, it really, friendship after victory, it's really just about power, and having strength, where my friend argues that the series is more about empathy and connecting, which is really fitting to shonen, because understanding and humanity and connecting with people are friendship, that's a really big thing to them. So I need to reread Madaka Box, but so I don't know, I haven't heard a good argument for why Hunter x Hunter is deconstructive, mostly because no one knows what a deconstruction is. I'm not even sure if I can fully explain it, because I don't understand it enough. But I also I think I remember there's a phrase where it's if you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it enough. So what I mean to say is I do understand it to a degree, I just don't understand it fully, basically. And I don't know, I just wanted to bring this scene up specifically because luckily I do think that the Hunter x Hunter deconstruction, I've heard it way less lately. People, I still hear it sometimes. I mentioned the one blog with the Nen style analysis, and they do the thing where it's they mention the Hunter x Hunter as a deconstruction thing. I'm why? That's how. So yeah, Hunter x Hunter can be good without deconstructing shonen, because I mean, I just compared this moment to the One Piece. So it's these were happening being built up to at around the same time. So again, it's
that's the thing is like I wonder if I don't know, because Hunter x Hunter is as old as the big three, relatively speaking. Like they all started within, I think Bleach started in 2001 and One Piece started in 1997, so they all started within like 4 years of each other. And I don't know, so they're all really good stories. I need to reread Bleach and Naruto though, but yeah. So anyway, back to the actual series. Maybe we should have talked about it earlier, but oh well. So yeah, Pito admits that she can't. Yeah, Kite's dead. She can't bring him back. And Gon, he's wrestling with himself because he's blaming himself and arguing with himself like, no, it was my fault, but no, wait, Pito killed him. I didn't do it. Like he's trying to like figure it out, basically.
Yeah.
And
I also think like the moment before that where Pito, like ask, because like the very first, when they first back at the palace, when Gon does his speech, like, my name is Gon Freaks and da 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 da, I came here to get Kite back. Pito isn't even listening because Pito is trying to focus on like how the task at hand. How do I protect Komugi? Yeah. Whereas here, Pito is willing to acknowledge like, what's your name, and Pito even apologizes. So I mean, they are. It's there. That's the character growth I'm talking about. Where it's Pito, like under different circumstances, maybe something could have worked out here.
Yeah,
because
I hadn't thought about that because because I said Pito's like completely the what does Meruem want, and that's she puts that against what herself. But even now she's not like immediately murdering Gon when he's at his most vulnerable. Like he breaks down, he falls to his knees, he's crying, and Pito, she's just like, okay. But
yeah, because that's kind of the thing, because Pito, they had even thought that I have to stop Gon's fangs from reaching the king's throat. But compare that to like what Knuckle did with Poof earlier when he appeared from behind, but whereas like Poof tried to sneak up on Gon and kill him that way, Knuckle was like, hey, I want to fight you, let's fight. So he like gave him a warning, and that's kind of what Poof does here, or not Poof, it's kind of what Pito does here, because they're like, I'm sorry, but I have to kill you. And
right, like honestly,
Gon is just like, what?
Personally speaking, like Pito has no reason to give any concessions to Gon with what she's seen of him. Basically, like if Pito just like immediately tried to just sink her fangs into him and just kill him like on the spot, would anyone, like even with a broken arm, like would anyone be like, yeah, I understand Pito? But no,
because I think the conclusion that Pito draws is perhaps the most interesting, because on one hand, they recognize that they are responsible for taking someone important to Gon away from him, in the same way that
they don't want Meruem
something
taken from them. Maybe
it was something that Pito learned from all the stuff with Meruem and Komugi, and it kind of relates to how important Meruem is to Pito, in the same way that Komugi was important to Meruem. So
I didn't think about it
in that sense, that is the reason for the concession, is because Pito recognizes that, I hurt this kid in this way. But at the same time, in recognizing that, Pito also kind of realizes that they have something more important than, paying back this debt or whatever to Gon, because they're concerned about Meruem getting harmed.
Right, exactly. I hadn't thought about it. Like the humanity Pito gains from like seeing Meruem and Komugi and seeing the concessions he's making carrying someone and connecting to Gon, like seeing that in Gon with Gon and Kite too, and recognizing like, yeah, this person cared for Kite much like like Gon even saw Komugi as Kite, because those are the two, like just like I think we mentioned it before, where Gon and Meruem are the ones who care about them. So it's like, yeah, she's seeing that in Gon, but she's still like, well, yeah, I still care about the people who are important to me more than I do you, so I'm still gonna kill you. But she's also not just like I said, she's not just sinking your fangs into him right away.
Yeah, so even that little moment is kind of it's something of a concession, even if it's not much of one.
And I guess
because in kind of developing this more human side, Pito also has to kind of forsake it in this instance, because I don't know if it's even, I don't know, like Pito has to kind of set aside the feeling that like, I did this terrible thing to this person. It's something that like they're kind of willing to accept and live with. Like maybe afterwards they could have tried to, I don't know where things would have gone from here. Mm-hmm. But like the king was more important. So in that sense, it's kind of selfish to, I don't know. Like it's more, not selfish, but like there's self-interest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, what I kind of realized just now is because I would argue that the most human looking ones of the guards is Poof, because he kind of looks like a normal person with like antenna, but he's also the least human because he's like enslaved to this ideal of like what the king and what the ants should be. He's the one who hates humanity the most. And he's like, so where like Pito and Yopi look less human, but they also become more human, basically, before they die.
Mm-hmm.
Where Poof, he like we see his real face when Knuckle sees him while he's finds out they're the king. Like I just thought it was interesting that he's the most animalistic, even though he looks the most human, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So and because he's also the one who's most self-interested, like the one who refuses to care about anyone else, kind of. So even the king, he doesn't care so much about Meruem as he cares about the idea of Meruem, which again, going back to the Alexander video.
Yeah.
So it's neat. And then oh god, Pito says that I'm not gonna he's gonna she's gonna kill Gon. Gon's you're not even gonna try to heal Kite, and then Gon. Oh shit. I mentioned this before, or alluded to it. I forget if I ever mentioned, but back when Kurapika was receiving training where it's like, emotions can raise your potential above 100%, but it's it's not stable, and you'll just suffer some kind of backlash for it. And Gon goes way above 100%.
Yeah.
God, the art is like he's doing some cool stylistic stuff. And Pito's like kind of helpless against like sort of full potential Gon. He's he even does like a full power like John Ken Pon or Jajang Ken, and just God, the fucking spreads and the hair and Jesus Christ. It's terrifying. It's sad. Like, it should be like a cool moment where it's, the main character gets a power up, but no.
Exactly. That, because again, it was what the arc was building to. This is supposed to be the cathartic revenge conclusion, and it's not that at all.
Right, because now you have, he's, throwing away his life, basically, for nothing, the person he's fighting for is still alive. Like, it's pointless, but Pito's the one who's become more human, and
Well, I mean, I guess at this point we don't know that Kite's still alive.
That's true, yeah. But I retroactively is what I'm saying is that what he's doing is just. And there's even a part.
And then you also.
Go on.
I was gonna say you also have the part with Pito where they're like, if anyone had to bear the brunt of this rage, I'm glad I was the one to do it. Like,
right, because this fighting capability would have because Pito was like when Netero saw her, he was like, wow, she could kill me, right as I am right now. He had to get stronger, and Gon destroys her effortlessly. Like Gon would have given Meruem a fight if he was like this, like an actual fight. So So in a sense, like. Pito, this is kind of a fitting end for them, like, in regards to what they did to Kite. But at the same time, it's also, like, a self-sacrifice move, because it will at least Gon won't make it to the king. Right.
Like, he had to sacrifice his life. He had to, like, compress his life essence to get this ability. He threw away all his potential. And this goes back to, every arc being a training arc up to this point. Like, you gotta master the basics and whatever. And in this case, Gon perhaps kind of takes a little too much from Kurapika. Is willing to
he exceeds Kurapika by a lot. Like, because, like, Kurapika did it out of this, like, strong desire, and it was also, I guess, in retrospect, it's kind of Chimera Antish, where it's like, because he's like, I want to take down the I almost said ants instead of spiders, but and he's like willing to, like, he comes with this ability, but maybe it was a bit too hasty, because like he's like they even mentioned, like, with the poems, is that he could have killed half of the spiders, but he probably would, presumably would not have killed Crollo and not died. Like, nothing would have been resolved from the events of Dorknu had they went out without the prophecies. But like, Gon's going even farther and sacrificing even more for less. Like, he's just mad. He's throwing a temper tantrum, and yet he's throwing away, like, far more than Kurapika was willing to sacrifice, or maybe not more because he's not dead, but a lot. And there's even a part where he talks about, like, how he can be just like Kite in the end, where because he loses his arm, just like Kite lost his arm to Pito. And also, like, he even I think there was a part where he mentions, like, I'm doing what you told me, Kite, where, because remember, Kite was like, we need to kill the little fox bear cub because it'll just grow to hate humans. And, like, So he's kind of missing the point, because as a kid, like, he positively influenced Kite because he's like, Gon is being better. He's being better with animals than this actual pro hunter, and that's kind of why Kite took a liking to him, you know. But now Gon is throwing that kindness away out of his grief and anger, and oh god, it's rough. So anyway, back to the palace. Meruem uses his N and is immediately able to see exactly everything in the palace. Everyone loses their shit because they're like, oh god, Meruem's really fucking strong. Though Poof is kind of able to rear him in with the game. After he takes out Knuckle and Meliron. But
there's also something a little sad, and the characters all wondering about, like, oh, where's Pito? Why isn't Pito back yet? The puppets have disappeared. Is Pito really in a fight that drastic?
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, like, they don't even... The thought that Pito is dead doesn't even cross their minds, actually. But anyway, everyone works to try and hide Komugi and keep her away from the ants.
And this is where Welfine re-enters the picture, because he's going to be the messenger.
Yep, and
then this is a good moment, because Ikalgo kind of recognizes the, you know, like the human who preceded Welfine in his old life, or however you describe it.
The human who became him and dominated his personality, and you know, Ikalgo, like, yeah, we were friends in our old life, weren't we? And Welfine's like, damn it, I can't not help a friend. Like. God, it's such a like the develop. You know, he's from not being able to trust even his own abilities to damn it, I gotta help a friend now.
Yeah. Although it's also interesting because that, like, when he does eventually get to the king, like, eventually he almost takes that too far, to the point where he's not even helping them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I noticed they also went out of their way to save, like, help Bolster a little bit, or like keep him safe at least, even though he's just like another ant who doesn't even really remember.
Yeah, like, he doesn't even have the memories of being a human.
And like both Ikalgo and Welfin were trying not to be killed by him down in the basement, like they were suspicious of him. So, but they still just save him anyway. Oh yeah, that's right. Then,
but then you have the part where Welfin gets a little too uppity, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna fight Yuppie." It's like maybe not.
I mean, he is a little tiny pixie, but also like he when he gets mad, his nose starts bleeding, which is, you know, obviously fortunate, because like he just dies. Like,
yeah, because even in the other panels, there were some parts where he was just like tiny little coughs, like little dialogue bubbles.
Those I didn't notice. Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah, I see one right there. He's just like, that was a great idea, Poof. You can go now. And he just coughs. Like, I didn't notice that. That's good. But anyway, Meruem finds a Gungi piece, and he realizes, like, I couldn't beat this person. But he's getting closer to remembering her. And then Poof finds Yopi's dead body. And
yeah, then Meruem's like, oh, so are we gonna end the game? Are you calling the game off? And then Palm is just like, everything's all right. We're gonna be fine.
But yeah, they do hide Komugi successfully. And Palm, of course, she knows that about the rose. We get a whole big montage about humans can be worse than ants, you know. Which is fair. Humans have had more time to be dipshits. And like I said, like, maybe the ants would have been better if they were in a better environment. But you know, humans created the environment that they were in. So, like, you know, but like they're the same. So. But they talks about the horrors of the rose. Obviously, you know, more of a nuclear allegory without actually using a nuclear warhead. Because, you know, I'm not sure what the point of that aside from is to, like, you know, it's something. Basically, I get, you know, he wanted to use, but he obviously doesn't want to use something that's pretty sensitive, you know, because Japan is the only country that's been nuked. So.
And I mean, there's like a history of that being present in like various Japanese media.
No, I just watched a bunch of Godzilla movies, so
yeah. I think for me, like, one of the more interesting panels in that montage is, well, I guess technically the page. It's where, like, you have there's the ant or whatever, and then there's just like the foot stepping on the ant, and it's like, we can be much worse. Like, I feel like that gets the point across well enough. But then, like, the montage where it shows, like, all the atrocities, and I mean, there's even like the reference to the guy being shot or whatever. So I mean, like, that's one of those, like, it's one of those moments where maybe some could say, like, oh, that's a little too on the nose, like, because like, I can see it, you understand the message of the arc already. Yeah, but then Togashi just goes one step further to apply it to real life, and it's like, okay, you know, I kind of could have inferred that, but I mean, again, that's kind of just
feeling frustrated. Like, I don't know if I cared this time because I already knew it was coming, but I'm pretty sure when I first read this, I was like, I get it. I don't need this. And now I just know it's there, so like I don't care. But yeah, what were you saying?
I mean, like I had mentioned it earlier too that these stories tend to be a little on the nose with their themes. You know, again, like to reference my Talk No Jutsu thing, like I would find quotes from characters of them literally saying the things that I still hadn't realized on like the first or second read.
No, like the big one I remember is when I was like, oh my god, Madara, his contradiction was that like he says chakra separates people, but he connects the people through battle. And then like at his death scene with Hashirama, he's just like, oh, I guess we were battle buddies, like basically saying it outright. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was this big monumental like connection I made in my brain, but no, the series literally spelled it out to me, and I just didn't notice because I'm stupid. So
yeah. So this is kind of just like that.
Yeah.
Or in the same way that the head poke thing that Kishimoto would do, and you're like, oh, this is cool, and then he did the page.
Because, you know, like someone, you know, younger or less like literate than me would like maybe like this is the kind of thing like if you weren't picking up on it is like now you can go back through the arc and pick and connect everything better, you know. But as you know, like again with the head poke thing is like I knew and I like it was satisfying making that connection myself, and then seeing it all spelled out is just like, oh, okay, fine, sure, you know. Like it's good imagery, you know. I'm not gonna say it's like, oh, these pages are bad. It's just like you said, it's on the nose. Like even just the first page with the human stepping on all the ants on the corpse is is on the nose enough. But yeah, it's fine. But yeah, Merum's life is on a timer. He uses his Ennigan to find Wolfen. While Poof is dying from the poison, and Wolfen basically just fucking breaks down in the like he needs to find this one word. And it like he's face to face with the king. Like he goes from like a wolf to a puppy. Like he super ages. He does the Nov thing. God, he just turns into a sad dog. I'm trying to think if this ties into the trust element of his character. In any way, I'm not sure. Either way, it's still a good moment because he just like, you know, like the narration gets home that, you know, he because of all these stresses and all the everything happening, he maybe comes to an answer he might not have come to otherwise, and he just says Komugi, like he realizes that, oh yeah, and then Merum remembers her, and yeah, Poof kind of like gives up, and he's like, yeah, okay, he does care for her this much, and you know,
well, yeah, especially because they're you know, like their emotions and whatever are linked, so he immediately gets to like feel that himself, and he's like, oh shit, I never had a chance.
And I guess Poof like accepting that Merum it cares about Komugi this much, you know, as like maybe it's him finally recognizing being human and recognizing Merum's humanity, sort of, and not just as a concept. Maybe maybe I shouldn't go that far, but I just, you know, because he does die, he just dies like immediately after this, you know.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I just had the thought right now. And then there's a little moment from Welfin where he's denouncing Merum as king, and he's like, my only king is Gyro, you know, you're nothing to me, you're our enemy. And Merum's just like, I hope you get to see him, live a human life. Like, I think Merum knows at this point about the sickness, or maybe not at this point, I know he knows later when he encounters Palm, like he knows that his life is on a timer, and he's just like, he just gives Welfin these kind words, and it's like, ah.
And of course Poof is like, no, because it's not the ideal he was fighting for the king to be.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, maybe I was wrong earlier. Actually,
or I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe Alexander can analyze this panel for me because he likes Poof. Like I'm fine with Poof. I don't have issue with him. You know, I recognize that he's, you know, good and interesting. You know, I just prefer you know, other types of characters in general. Maybe so I don't have issue with Poof. He's fine. But anyway, Merum tracks down Palm. This scene is interesting because he just like, you know, he, like I said, he knows his he knows well he knows he's dying, he knows Palm knows he's dying, and he just wants to see Komuki. And Palm is kind of like, she's arguing with herself, like I guess going back to the barriers idea that you know, she's like internally she's thinking things that don't match what she's saying. Like
well, yeah, because that's where you kind of get like the internal struggle between, because now she's part ant, and so she's kind of able to see both sides,
right? And because part of it, that's a good way to put it, where it's like her, you know, in her mind she's like, oh, the king would never lie to someone as lowly as me, he wouldn't need to do it. But outside she's saying, I can't believe you, like she's conflicted because she was on the mission to exterminate the king as a human, and now she's an ant. Like the part where he starts to bow and she stops him and starts crying, like, oh god, she doesn't want to see the Ant King bow to her, even as an enemy, like, God, but he's willing to throw away his everything just to be with Komugi. Like, he doesn't care, and and like he even says like, oh yeah, your resolve is the strongest and most beautiful that I've seen, but even that cannot like hold up to like, because resolve is a human thing, but so is like compassion, and like she bends on a resolve out of compassion, basically, and she breaks her promise, like everything just so Meruem can find Komugi, and she's sleeping, and he's like, let's play, and we're getting to the tears moments, Mathwiz, aren't we? Because that's basically, because again, like, it's really interesting because it's like I know people like I kind of talked about it back when Yu Yu Hakusho, I think, where it's kind of the end of the last arc is kind of anticlimactic, but like Togashi does that with every arc in Hunter x Hunter, pretty much. Like, yeah, what's the climax here? Meruem dies of poison and Gon, like, I guess, loses shit against, Pito, and Netero fights Meruem. Like, the climax happens before. Like, where is the climax? Like, what do you even, like, I need to, like, define it, and, like, okay, what this moment is the climax relative to, like, it's interesting, because, yeah, it's just, but it's still really good and interesting, like, the whole way through, so, or what were you saying? Or I thought you were going to say something.
Well, what I think is kind of interesting, because in the 2011 anime, they adapt, like, so here we have chapter, like, Meruem talks to Palm and then goes to find Komugi, and then we cut away to the stuff, kind of like the fallout of the arc. Or wait, maybe I'm wrong. Well, okay, yeah. So things do get shuffled around a bit. Like, we get a little bit of fallout in the anime, we get a little bit of fallout from the arc, and then we wrap up the stuff with Meruem and Komugi, and then we get the stuff with like Welfine and Bloster and them.
Okay, yeah.
And
because in the manga,
but here that happens first, and we end the arc on the chapter where it's just like the black, well, not even black and white, like it's just text bubbles.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because it's like it shuffles things around a bit.
I only watched
the final note.
See, I remember very few like anime manga differences for some reason, like because I only watched the anime once, so anything is welcome. Because I don't remember.
Well, it helps that right now I'm working on an AMV for Hunter x Hunter with this arc in mind.
Chidu? No, I don't know.
No, it's not a Chidu AMV.
That would be fun. I just thought it'd be funny. So anyway, yeah, we get the Welfin aftermath, and Bloster kind of just goes off with I forget the name of the ant. I just know her as it's Reina, like, which is,
well, yeah, that's all they call her.
Yeah,
like I don't think they call her anything but Reina.
No, I thought she had an ant name. I guess I could look it up, but
well, I know in this chapter I'm pretty sure they refer to her as Reina.
Right. Because okay, see, I like this trope. Like, I off the top of my head, I remember, I think one of the earliest chapters of Zip Man had it, the new Shonen Jump manga, and then also in 20th Century Boys. I just love the trope where, like, there's a character who, like, has no reason to be recognized or don't think they'll be recognized, but then they are recognized, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Reina's like, yeah, she's completely and she's even like, how did you know? And starting to cry. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's just accepted, yeah, even in this new monstrous form, she's just like, yeah, I don't care. That's my daughter. Like, she was grieving, and, I mean, Kurt, I'm pretty sure he wasn't named back then, but not, the cult is also alive, even though, he's not here. But, he has more of his personality, so, God, it's good tears. Happy tears.
Although it's kind of interesting, because you get the... like when Bloster shows up with her, they're like, "Oh, monster!" But then when they find out that it's Reina, they're okay with her. And so initially it's kind of like, they're not. Well, but then afterwards, like, okay, so it's like initially they're a little scared off by the appearance, understandably so. I mean, the ants came up and like took people away. It was kind of spooky. But then afterwards they're like, "Oh, hey, why don't you join us to eat?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm not that kind of guy." The part that got me, was when Reina walks up to him and is like, "Thank you, let's eat. Come eat with us." And then he's got like the tear. And,
no, that was really good too, because he's like, he was this criminal, and we don't get his backstory, but we can assume it's not too dissimilar from like Gyro and the like, because like Wilfin and they recognized him, like, yeah, he doesn't have his memories, but they recognized him as being one of the ones who was with them, and even he had some like, I kind of feel it. So it's like, but he finally gets a home, like, and it's also kind of interesting because I wouldn't say he's been irredeemable, but it's like he's basically just like killed people. Like, what's his character been so far? Like, he's just he's a gun, but then he's just
yeah, because he's not, because he even says it himself. He's not like the others. Like they all have, like, the people who have the human memories have kind of like a different look in their eye, but he doesn't have that. So he is kind of the most. I don't know if I'd say he's like the most ant of them all, but
I can see where you're coming from.
But like
at least,
even he is able to kind of find a home and.
And yeah, humanity. Like, he's just like, yeah, he's just gonna live with these people as a weird lobster gun guy, and but it's they don't care. He doesn't.
Actually, now that I think about it, that's kind of cool, because like, so her older brother ends up becoming Colt, and he's off doing something else right now. So it's kind of like he kind of like steps in to kind of fill that older brother role.
Yeah,
almost.
That's true. That's when you put it, like, because they don't have a father either. So like Kurt was the man figure in the house, and now he's got, so Blowster kind of fills in that role because
because Colt was resolved to protect the girl who we find out later is Kite, but now that we know that it's Kite, like, is something going to change? Like, is he going to end up going back to Reina? So I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yes, this moment with Blowster is really good, and he's like, "Why am I crying?" And
anyway, then we get the news story of how the East Gorto situation is seen by the world, where it was genocide, mass suicide. The dictator went crazy. Bizef was being blamed for it, because we saw earlier where he's just like, yeah, I guess I'm a wanted criminal everywhere. Or no, we said it later. Or no, it was earlier. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm a political refugee. Let's do it. Meteor City is the only place I can go. So might as well go along with you to find Gyro. What a weird like team up, really. Like Wilfin, Hina, and Bizef. Like, oh god. I do. Like I said, I hope we get a Meteor City arc. Before Meteor Togashi dies, I guess. Please, I don't know. I hope we get chapters this year. That'd be cool too. Anyway, we also get the poem, the Maso Kikuchi poem, and the real Jolik dictator guy who's just like, it's just a puppet state in the first place, and he's just like, he just avoided everything. He's just fucking at his vacation home. Did you have any thoughts on the poem itself?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I mostly had some thoughts about the lines about because it's good how just like people don't need or like, well, especially mentions that like peace is too or lifetime is too long for peace, because peace, I guess, is like it's a calm. It's also maybe even just like relax, like you're not doing anything. So maybe people want some kind of like excitement in their lives, but at the same time, war is just too brutal. Like, life is too short to be so consumed by hatred and fighting. And then I guess it ends off saying like all you need is the sun and soil, nature and poetry, or some form of like art, I guess, is I don't know. So I don't know. It's I don't know. It's interesting to consider. And he ends it off on like the arc where it's just like, because it's saying, ultimately it's like drinking to a creature called man who's just sort of exists in this state, and mm-hmm. It's almost, but it also like the arc ultimately, like, Chimera ants are basically humans, so I don't know. It's neat. Maybe there's more to consider there. Maybe comments will have more to consider. That was just my thought.
I mean, it is an interesting little poem, because like, as far as like, too long for peace, like there's like, humans need some sort of like ambition. They need something to like strive for, because like, I don't know, there's too much time to do nothing. But then at the same time, like what you said about like hatred and war and stuff. I mean, it definitely fits in with the arc.
Yep. Anyway, we're almost done. Not as long as last time. But still 3 hours.
But yeah, I think one of the what am I trying to say? Like, maybe one of the more interesting bits of the Fallout here is that like the ants, because of how things are classified, like the ants just kind of, they're not seen as like, they're not demonized. They're just kind of seen as these new magical beasts that exist. And so as far as the ending of Yu Yu Hakusho goes and like the ending of Level E, this kind of like it ties it all together because you have these creatures who were at war with the humans at one point. But at the end of the day, like they can kind of just blend in and exist. And
right, like they don't fully do that with the remaining ants. Like we do see some of them. Like Colt is with Kite and the hunters, and I think the koala shows up in the next arc. I'm pretty sure. Meliron's gonna do his thing. If I assume, Ikalgo, like Palm, Palm's not gonna lose her hunter status. She's just a Chimera ant hunter, or a hunter who happens to be a Chimera, not someone who hunts Chimera ants. But so yeah, they're just people now. It's like Mr. Bean exists. Like it's not like humans don't look weird too sometimes. So yeah, but it is interesting because that's the thing is because I think like the ramifications of the Chimera ants being a part of the setting now, and also even just like Kite and like Kite. I forget if Kite and Gon do interact right after this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not misremembering.
Yeah. When the koala guy gets his speech.
But since the story has moved away from Gon since this, so minor manga spoiler. I'm pretty sure we've already mentioned it. Yeah. No, I did already mention it. One really weird comparison that I thought of again with the stories coming out at the same time is just, and I think about One Piece all the time. But so I already compared the Gon Kite stuff to Ace and Luffy, but you also have Netero. So you have this character death that matters to the main character, and then you have this Whitebeard and Netero, who are these big setting affecting deaths. But so we do see how Netero's death affects the setting in the arc right after this with the election, and obviously with One Piece we do have to see how Whitebeard's death affects the setting. But because the story has moved away from Gon, we haven't really see how he's been continually affected from the events of this arc. And so I don't know. So Kite being alive is potentially interesting, and what happens to Kite after this we don't know because we haven't seen the story. So this is where me wanting more Hunter x Hunter. It's because I'd love to see more of the ramifications of Chimera Ant because it's the longest arc in the series. Not that we don't see any ramifications, because like I said, right after this we go into the waves forming from Netero's death. But there's other aspects being shown here that leave me wanting. But that's good. Stories should leave you wanting up to a point.
So long as they're not complete. If they're complete and they leave you wanting more,
that's a little different, right? But ongoing stories.
I like I'm looking at the conversations with Morel here, and I like the line where he's like, you guys sit at your comfy desk jobs and your comfy desks in your air conditioned rooms. It's different out here. When people we trust say they'll handle it, they'll handle it.
Yeah, moral's so good because that one person to confirm the death of the king, and it's well, are you gonna fucking go find the king? You do it. You go say hi to Meruem and ask what's up. The strongest being on the fucking known world. But yeah, everyone's resolved to not let Gon die, because he's not in a good state. And then Killua's sort of ruminating over it, and he's he wishes that Gon had said let's go, let's get him together instead of let's go. He's just sulking, but he's gonna. Yeah, like you said, he's going to make Gon apologize, and he's going to help him. He's going to clean up his mess, but no, Gon fucked up, and he needs to say sorry.
And that it's so good for Killua's character arc, because, earlier in the series, he might not have even said that. He might have not have had, the self-worth to challenge Gon on his mistake. But now he's grown to the point where he's like, you know what? I know that I'm worth more than you treated me. With how you treated me back there. Yeah, you're going to apologize to me, damn it. And he's willing
to see Gon, seeing Gon's flaws so up front, he's no longer, he's recognizing that Gon isn't, this bright shining light. There's some darkness there, and he's okay, yeah, he's got to be accountable for that darkness in some way, even if it's just apologizing to Killua, because, yeah, Gon, you're bad. No, you're good, but you were bad then. But anyway, yeah, Kite.
Killua he's got a solution. He's gonna save Gon. He's gonna go get a very good girl and go save Gon.
That's next time.
But that's next time.
So anyway, then Reina, Reina was the name that he was gonna give the Ant Queen. So it's kind of funny. So we get an ant who turns out to be Reina and gets named Reina. Now we have an ant who is named Reina but turns out to not be Reina. So it's Kite. And yep.
Yeah, and then I like Morel just running across he's got his what I forget what it's called, but the thing that he's with just falls over and he's kill
the IV drip, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the IV drip.
I didn't notice that falling. That's fun. That's a little funny because he's just so he's got to tell everyone, so he just drops because that's Gon. The whole reason Gon was grieving and suffering was because of Kite's death, but no, Kite survived somehow. Nen, you don't gotta explain shit. No, Nen, you do have to explain shit. But we'll talk about that. I think it comes up later, but next time.
Well, because it probably would have been strange for Kite to not survive, because, like, for all the other ants that were reborn from their human selves into another form, like, why would Kite be different?
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I have no problems with Kite coming back. I just wish we'd seen more of we had by the point in the story that is now, and maybe not by now.
Well, Kite coming back isn't even the biggest ass pull from the results of this.
Oh God, that's right. It's more that I just really want to see more of Gon's character, and the story's moved away from Gon. Yes. So like I said, I have no problem. I have no specific problem. It's just more of just like if I had the whole series in front of me, I'd probably have 0 issues. But oh well. So anyway, Meruem and Komugi, they're playing Gungi.
There's the part where Komugi's like, "Oh, I guess you saved me," and he's like, "No, it wasn't me. It was my men." And then he's like, "They were too good for me." It's
and then he gives his name, and he doesn't even want to be called Lord Meruem. He just but then they make it a deal, like, okay, if I win, you stop calling me Lord.
And then she's like, can you wait? Let me die after that. He's like, oh.
But then he's also like, he even says like, no, you won't die because I'm going to make you lose innumerable times. Like he wants to stay with her forever and just play Gungi. He doesn't. At the end of the day, the thing he wants most isn't to be this king. He just wants to play the game with this person he cares about. And then they do she does the move that that he tried earlier with the king in the corner, and he's like, "Are you mocking me?" And they have a little exchange where like he uses a novelty buster, and she uses and she's so happy, and she she's
and I like the part when she does that, and he's like, "Fine, you may die when you lose after all."
God, and she's like, "Do I deserve to be so happy? Like, she's so good and cute." And then like they're both and then Meruem finally gets his answer, and Komugi, because she is akin to the king, they connected, and they were born for this moment so that they could connect, even now ever briefly and just over this game. And then they get the dialogue bubbles where they're just playing, and Meruem was never able to beat Komugi. I'm just going to take a short rest, and I think they did, or what was the poison was mentioned, and
because he told her, and
yes.
He's like, but it's contagious, and she's like, well, I'm gonna stay with you,
right? Like, and
so
even they got kind of thing like being together will kill them both, but they still decide to choose to have that connection, to make that connection, and I was ugly crying for a bit. It's hard not to. Because I remember earlier I said like only one moment is in Hunter x Hunter has gotten me to cry. Now I can count at least like 2 or 3. I think maybe the rain a bit, and earlier I got teary-eyed at the end of Greed Island. So now there's 3 moments, but this one is the original moment. So
it's kind of hard not to. It's powerful.
Oh God. And anyway, we get one lead into the next arc where Netero, where we see the list of casualties. NGL was placed under the jurisdiction of the Hunter Association. The refugees, East Gorto, kind of got the territories got shuffled around to the other nearby nations, and Netero gives the mission statement for the election, and we see a little tease of the Zodiacs.
And Jing, we see the back of his head.
I don't see Pariston in this lineup, but we'll see way more of him. Oh boy, holy shit! Chimera Antark. Goddamn.
I think I might have to go back on my statement that York News is my favorite arc.
Look, so with me and York New is good. I'd give the series up to York New like an 8 out of 10. Greed Island pushes it to 9. It's still a 9 with Chimera Ant, because if we get more 10 out of 10 arcs, then I might have to rethink my rating of Hunter x Hunter as a 9. But the series hasn't gone that much farther from Chimera Ant, sadly. But the arc is fucking amazing in a lot of ways. Like, I might even like the first, like, overall, I might like the first half a little bit more, but all the payoffs and the second half has some of my favorite moments. Like, but it's just a really solid, like, I wanted to read more after we finished the last reading. Like, I was like, maybe a little bit more, but no, it's like, I'll save it for the discussion. And, but I wanted to read it, like, God, and this is my third time going through the series. Like, it's not like with Bleach. Like, with Bleach, I finished 1,000 Year Blood War, like, the day after we did the discussion. Like, we finished the first half, and I was like, yeah, I've already read the second half. And you're like, really? Like, 2 weeks before we needed to talk about it. Because I just really wanted to finish Bleach. But I did have a feeling for doing that even just after this, even though I've already experienced the story. So Chimera is good. There was a comment last time. It's like, how it's a very good, but also very, it is discussed a lot, and people again like Hunter say they do the dumb things. It's a deconstruction. It's just say dumb things to prop it up. That doesn't stop that it's a really good arc. Just because people say stupid things about it sometimes. But I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's tough because, like, I get what people are saying when, like, oh, it's overpraised or whatever, or like it gets a lot of people making like people throwing other shonen under the bus to prop up the Chimera Ant arc. But even say like, man, I could at least hold myself to like, oh, but it's not my favorite arc. Well, now it is. So I mean, it's a good arc. It's like one of my favorite arcs in fiction probably now.
Oh, so no. I'd rank it I'd rank it up there with my favorite One Piece ones. Like, I thought about it and I was like, shit, if I put if Chimera Ant arc was a One Piece arc, I would put it as like my fourth favorite. And One Piece is my favorite thing of all time. Like, I've been One Piece for way longer. I've read the arcs more. Like Whole Cake Island, I had a 1-2 like last time we recorded. I got to read Chimera Ant and then I read Whole Cake Island within like a few days of each other. And I was just feeling good because I got like two of my favorite like my favorite arcs in their respective series. Like 100 is not a 10 out of 10 for me yet, but it's really fucking good, and I absolutely see why people like it so much because it's the aspects that are good about it don't click with me as much as the aspects I like about One Piece, but it's still a great story. Like, oh god. Oh man, no, it's.
Well, I think Hunter x Hunter is a 10 out of 10, and it's my favorite thing
absolutely,
ever.
Yeah. Is it your favorite? It's probably your favorite manga, right?
Well.
Or do you like? Because oh no, because that's okay. Because I remember because we talked about this.
Well, because I know One Piece is like a really well constructed from like a manga specifically perspective.
Yeah. Well, because
I don't know, like,
because a lot of it is a tricky question because a lot of your enjoyment with Hunter x Hunter is from the anime, and so like where with One Piece you only have the manga, so now I know you both like really like both of them, so yes, I'm putting you in a hard spot because it's funny to me.
Well, because before I had said like Hunter x Hunter is my favorite anime and like One Piece is my favorite manga, concession. But now you're trying to get me to take away credit from One Piece, which I mean like I can do, but
yeah, no, it's I think it's funny to like press you because it's No, they're both good. I don't need to take one away from the other or anything. Like, I was bringing up comparisons, but it was more like these are doing similar things, and both things are good, but people are, again, they're doing the thing where they're trying to prop up Hunter x Hunter. Not that the Team 4-Star video was a little bit like, it wasn't throwing One Piece on the bus, but what they were saying from the first half could directly be applied to One Piece, is what I was trying to say. So, I just don't think it's meaningful to say, like, yeah, One Piece is the deconstruction of Shounen, apparently.
Yeah, I think Hunter x Hunter just caters to my personal specific tastes a little more.
No, yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a very interesting series. I like it a lot. We're not done yet. I just realized like we're gonna. So next time, hold on, the exact chapter we're reading to, which will sadly be our last episode of Hunter x Hunter because there's stuff that happens after, and I'd love to discuss that stuff. We're just gonna wait until the arc actually finishes. So God knows how long that could be. But anyway, we're reading chapters 319 to 339, so much shorter stretch, but we're also reading the Kurapika special, which you haven't read before, have you?
I have.
You have read it. Okay, so we'll both be reading that. We'll probably discuss that one first, just because, like, it's just to get out of the way, and then we'll discuss the rest of the series. We'll also do our top 5 characters, battle arc rankings, or general arc rankings, our top 5 characters, our top 5 fights. Though it's kind of weird for the fights in this one, because, like, Netero versus...
Oh, for the top 5 fights, I'll actually be able to have a ranking.
Oh, nice.
For once.
Because, I don't think I've ever given a ranking. I've just given, like, here's 5 fights I really like, and maybe some extra ones. So, it's weird, because,
Well, okay,
well,
I mean, like, in other...
as a fight? Can I just put the whole palace invasion as one? Right? I could do that, right? No, I don't.
Well, because, like, when we would do the fight quote-unquote rankings for the other stuff, like, I would struggle to think of 5 fights, even.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I'll be like, ooh, I got this.
But anyway, we'll talk about that. I gotta figure out myself too. One more.
Well, I mean, like that's not even to say that the fights in the other stories were bad. It was like I was more thinking about ideas. But I've gone through Hunter x Hunter enough that like
you can
I know the fights. I have the
parts
fights
that you like and appreciate relative to each other. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time for the last time, and then on to Soul Eater. A new series again. Wow, it's funny. Like once we're through the big 3 of One Piece, like especially One Piece and Naruto, it's like 7 episodes. Like Fairy Tail was 9 episodes. This one is 7 episodes. So it's like, and then we're on to another 4 episode series. Like what the hell? We're finishing series on the Nen Show. What? Anyway, thank you for listening. We will see you next time.